this was just the training for that. And of course still is. So.
Alrighty. Well, I just wanted to share in this very spirit, Dharmendra, of the Siddha space, and I'll ask you to help me out here, is that this world that we've been dreaming of, this hyper-connected world, is already here, right? And just like the caterpillar to butterfly transition, we're just at different incremental stages of the imaginal selves guiding our transformation. And so with that, I'm at peace. I can die now because I've been able to live the dream and be a part of it. And, I have full faith that all the rest of you will carry on the work. And yeah.
Wow. At first I was really getting off mentally on realizing the Siddha space is the butterfly. We're out of the cocoon because we intended to as a group, and anything you intend as a group to do consciously and intentionally and with your heart open, you can create. Even if it's not occurring in the material, ordinary touch, taste, feel, sense stuff world, it is occurring in our inner seeing, hearing, tasting, touching. And that's as valid, if not, well, it's equally as valid. Because without that place, that inner place, there would be no outer place, because the inner place had to set up before the outer place could build on. So at the same time, you're sharing, Jamin, the way you released your whole work, just like you did right now, really entered into the exercise. That's what I thought you did. You embodied the exercise I said. I felt that. I felt your release, and I felt your celebration. And that's beautiful. So that's a whole nother aspect, a different Siddha. But in a way, all the Siddhas are really touching the same space. It's just, how do you want to express it? So that's beautiful. So we've got celebration and ecstasy. Anybody else want to jump in and see what they taste and share with us? Well, we'll be there with you as you do it. So the talk is just for the record, for the people watching this video afterwards. Oh, Jackie, you gotta go.
Love you, Jackie. See you soon. Thank you.
And just so everybody knows, I have about 5 minutes too, and I'm glad we finally, Jamin, in this meeting, we finally got to spend a little bit of immersion into the Siddha space and get a few people to share from that space, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy with that. And,
well, let's do that more, and let's also carve out time in the block party to do that.
Yeah, I just got to be able, because all the time I'm spending is at work right now. So
yeah.
It's hard for me to set up a time like that. It has to kind of come like this for now. I'm sorry, I apologize. I wish I could set up, I wish especially I could do something in the block party of a specific period of time. But I'm not able to do that yet, but at least we've got to start. And I trust that by doing this, the snowball effect, slowly, it's going to open more spaces to allow this to happen.
Absolutely.
I certainly hope so. Because I really felt honored today with everybody who's here and people that I haven't shared this with yet, that that they're still here and remained. Because I know in the beginning to first jump into this, it could be kind of interesting, but it's very powerful and it really does work. And if you do eventually jump into it, you're going to find your life will change. Things that you wanted to have happen can start happening in ways you didn't expect. True, Jamin? Right.
Absolutely.
True, Nolan. I just ask the people that I've done it with for a while, and I see them, they're in a very different place than when I met them. So at least in some ways, to give credit to what you say, Nolan, too, but you do have to become a novelty unto yourself, as you know. Also. Okay, so that's it for me. I've got to go.
Love you, Dharmendra, and thank you so much for leading. And Elifi, it looks like you might be taking off as well. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you, Eli. Elifi,
thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Elifi, it was beautiful.
The meeting continues. We've got more ground to cover, and so everyone, please please stay tuned, those of you who can stay. And love to all of you. Dharmendra, thank you so much again for leading, brother. So beautiful.
Yes, and thank you for letting me do so, and love to all of you.
And feel free to dial back in later if you can. You know, if you can't, no worries, but feel free. Love to see you. The meeting continues. These meetings are long format by design, so precisely so that we can go deep into these different areas. And so anyway, just taking a pause now. Does anyone need a break? We've been meeting now for a little over 4 hours. We started at 11 a.m. Pacific time. How are people feeling break-wise?
I could use some time to grab food, but I can also wait a little bit if anybody needs some more time.
All right, I'm not hearing from anyone else. Why don't we maybe break for 10 minutes, and I'll pause recording during that time. And during that time, I mean, feel free to share. Whoever's here, feel free to share. It's totally fine to talk during break. So, all right. So let's see. It is now 22 after. Shall we meet back at 32 after in 10 minutes? And Nolan, does that give you enough time, or if, you know, if you need more, just come back when you come back. No problem. That sound good? Okay. All right. We'll see you back here at 32 after. See you all soon. Pausing recording in the meantime.
With urgency, people wanting to connect, wanting to develop relationships that are focused on these bigger, broader subjects, and having a platform to communicate and participate in some of the solution building towards these aims of, you know, cooling down the planet or building humanitarian infrastructure, you know, basic grieving work, even healing work, you know, a place where people can just feel connected again. And we're coming into a time of great isolation with everything we're facing on the virus end, on our heels. So it's just an incredible platform that we're continuing the build out for as an application, as a technology connecting point. We're using Zoom right now. We're going to be building other technologies that will support this collective super intelligent you know, think tank, where we would have multiple things going on, multiple conversations, pretty much how a global brain would work. So each member is like a synapses connecting, and based on the interests or based on the dreams of people's imaginations, we're creating sort of a new template, a new bridge, activating almost like white blood cells or imaginal cells in concert with the earth, as sort of a wake up kind of red alert codex that we're all somewhat carrying at our different levels and our different awarenesses, and putting together visions that connect with other people's visions. And it's all about using the combined intelligence of as many human beings as possible to create a single mind that is, you know, that's unified on sort of what are the goals for our collective survival and our endurance for the next, you know, 1,000 years, leading to, you know, the evolution of our species in collaboration with emerging technologies, like we were mentioning, possibly AI. So we're basically just generating a hub, a seed. We're planting a seed where others can connect to this point and start building a new holistic structure, pretty much how a caterpillar melts into a butterfly. So we're finding participants that are these cells, and we're basically linking up cell by cell to create a very large impact effect. So probably by the time we get to the 100th cell, we will be going into a viral direction of expansion with this. And it's all about scalability, and we're just working on bringing the right people together that can participate in their own way to fully develop this out and scale with the emerging collective that's going to be joining this and deploying these solutions around the world. So we're only a seed at this point, but right now, this is the most important time to come together. Those that are called to step forward, we can literally form a seed into a blossoming flower and a field of flowers. And we're going to be basically the direct response of the earth at this time of great transition. So I just love being here and being part of it. It's an honor. And Jamin and his experience and all the trials and tribulations he's been through, it's great to learn from him and kind of, come together and reset ourselves for what we're going into next. But it's a complete joy to be part of this. I always like to plan different things out for each week that we do it. So we have this strategy meeting that we're doing right now. And then we have a block party meeting that's 24 hours long that hits every time zone around the planet to get everyone's engagement, no matter where they are in the world. So these are all little baby steps we're taking, but they're leading to great impact. And I'm bringing my entire professional ecosystem to this platform to help build it out and bring resources to the table wherever necessary. And others are finding whatever way they can to also participate and bring value and happiness to their life by being part of something big like this. So I will hand over the talking stick from now. Great to meet you, though.
Beautiful, Dylan. Thank you. Thank you so much. Awesome.
I hope we were recording. That was a good one.
No, we are. In fact, I just realized that we weren't recording in the first, I don't know, half minute or so of what you were saying.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't want to break the flow. So we are recording now. And by the way, anytime anyone wants to pause recording, just do this with your hands or just ask me to pause. I'm very happy to do that. No problem. So, no, really beautiful sharing, Dylan. Thank you so much. And Emery has typed into the chat some additional stuff, and please keep chatting away, Emery, or by voice as you wish, or a combination. But Dylan, you've just been an amazing connector and brought us into contact with so many people. And then look at what's happening. People you've brought us into contact with are bringing in their friends. I mean, Dylan, did you know Denise before? Okay. So look, Dylan, look at the ripple effects of what you're doing, right? And, to cite another huge acquisition from your efforts this last weekend at the last block party, right?
Right.
You posted on a bunch of Facebook pages, and then Cesare shows up and he starts presenting amazing stuff to us. We had a 6-hour video conference with Cesare yesterday. I was on for the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah, Dylan was on for the last couple hours. So we are on fire.
Yeah.
We are on fire. And this is all caused by you, Dylan. You getting up and saying, you know what, I'm going to do something.
Yep.
And you're just making a difference like crazy. So anyway, this is collective superintelligence. Each of us coming to the table with whatever gifts we have, and not necessarily coming to work on what other people are working on, but you may have a totally different thing that you want to bring to the community, bring to the collective superintelligence, bring it. And there is no there is no dogma, there is no, it's such an open space. It's really more like a medium. It's not like, these are the 10 principles you have to believe in to hang with us. Right. And that was a hard one for me to get over, because for me, there are certain things that are just absolute. Like, we've got to cool the planet. That's the top priority. And solar radiation management is the only way to do it in time, period. And, but I've backed off from trying to make mandatory certain beliefs that for me are just, absolute, right? So anyway, there's no dogma here. There's nothing you have to believe in. It's really just think of it as a medium. In fact, one of the names that we're playing with for it is the social network of actual conversations. So really what defines this is that we come to the table and we have real conversations, actual conversations about things that actually matter and that we can act on, like cooling the planet, like stopping the coronavirus, etc. So anyway, let me now, so thank you, Dylan. Let me share what Emery wrote in the chat. Interface, dashboard, control panel. That's one thing that we, have envisioned and intend to build for this is this kind of interface to redesign the world and allow hearts to flow. To redesign the world and allow hearts to flow. Address coronavirus, distribute food, SRM, cooling the planet, and ending world hunger. These are among our goals, our short-term goals, actually, just like we just got to do this. So thank you, Emery. And if you want to say anything with your voice, please jump in anytime, of course, an hour later. And Denise, do you have any questions right off the bat from this wonderful sharing before we go a little deeper?
Sounds all very interesting. I'm very much interested in the hearts flowing, and I'm interested in knowing what collectives are involved. And you want to help cool the planet. I want to help open hearts. What else is there? Or I want to help hearts flow. What are the capabilities of who's here, who's been here? Like, what do we want to put to the table? Do we have that thought or written? Like, for me, I have many capabilities, but there's certain things I will and won't do, given my capabilities. And, being a woman, a lot of guys always want to make me an administrative assistant, but I have a lot more talents than that. So just saying.
Oh shucks! I was just about to nominate you for administrative assistant. Dang.
I'm really good at it. But I've got. I have a lot of talents. I'm sure everyone does. But the point is to follow our bliss and to really bring to the table with our hearts in a contented space. How do we get there? And where is everyone's contented space? What can they do? What kind of energy do they have? Resources.
Hey, Denise, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I'm really straining to hear you, and I don't know why that is. It could be a microphone.
Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Way better. Go ahead.
It was up there. Do you want me to? I was just want me to repeat, or
maybe just like the last half minute or so. But
okay, I'm sorry.
Or if anyone wants her to repeat the whole of it, please just speak up.
It's never going to be the same. Well, basically, I was just kind of wanting to know what the realism of it is, like what collectives are involved, what are the different initiatives of different collectives, and who's in here, what are their capabilities, what do their hearts want to put in, timing and resources, just like kind of get a little bit real on what. I love the interface, dashboard, control panel, redesign the world and allow hearts to flow. Great. I've been dreaming this as well. Where are you guys at with it? I've seen Brett Warshawski's work and then a lot of Jeff's things, which I really love Brett and his wife's design. Like I totally everything. I was drinking it up because I've had these same conversations with friends, and I actually have other collectives that are potentially interested in this as well that we might want to loop in or. So I also want to know, how much conversation we can have about this, what we're talking about, what we're not, intellectual property, if that's involved, or is this all, open interface? I'm sure. Yeah, I've been in intellectual property worlds, so it's like you're not allowed to tell, and yeah.
Well, with Brett's work, we're actually looking at fully deploying his systems to be like a beta test for his entire vision of new map and all the stuff he was looking at, holacracy, right? So we are actually directly partnered with him and Jeff and also the New Hope Festival as well, and all of their participants. So Jeff has been really instrumental. I brought him into this a couple of weeks back, and I've been working with Jeff on humanitarian projects for years. And so we're all kind of at this great point in time where we can just start really forming these bonds and these synapses connections to start helping everyone out with their visions mutually. But yes, Brett is totally involved with us, and we're looking at basically getting some resources together to start deploying, getting him out of alpha and into a beta with collective superintelligence as a testing ground for it. So I'm really honored. I'm glad to hear that you're from that side of the world as far as thinking. That's wonderful. And we're also working, of course, with just some higher level things to mention. So Dr. Ye Tao from the Roland Institute at Harvard, he's working with us in developing the solar radiation management solution that we've been talking ongoingly about, for the last four weeks. But it's been in much deeper discussion over the last year, deploying mirrors in strategic locations on the Earth, floating or in deserts, helping regreen the deserts, helping protect the oceans from acidification. So Roland Institute, Harvard, they're working with us. I have a few others that I've been bringing forward from different institutions, working on the blue economy, which is all about the ocean, the new ocean economy, and protecting the oceans and making it resilient, sustainable, and bringing capital into it from that point of view. A few other white hats and light workers that are within some of the bellies of the beast that want to start helping turn the whole beast around from within. We're working with a lot of them as well, Club of Rome, etc. And yeah, pretty much just I've been sharing it on every group on Facebook, and reaching out to people from the Extinction Rebellion. Jeff's been working on getting Greta Thunberg connected with us to start maybe getting her eyes on what we're doing, and also the solution that we're putting out there that would really help her platform roll out with a solution than just gluing people to doors. So we're trying to empower people like her too with the stuff that we're bringing about in consensus that would really solve a lot of issues that she's speaking about. So, and everything else that Jeff's working on, and Brett. So that whole ecosystem is definitely merged with ours, and we're just cranking away on all the different possibilities, step by step. I hope that answers what you're looking at, but you're pretty much looking at this as a ground floor. We're literally just putting water on the seed, where we're connecting people. We're definitely, some of our momentum was a little bit paused a bit just with the emergence of the coronavirus that became a pandemic. So that has put a little bit of a break on certain things. For instance, Greta was sick, for instance, for the last couple of weeks. So, things are happening in the world that have definitely, made us want to maneuver and start to prioritize different things differently in light of what's going on, and also be support for people that need support and that are also isolated and not feeling good. So like you're saying, connecting hearts together, taking a deep breath and working on, how to ride out what's going on together as a collective, as a form of support. So that's a lot to throw at you, but there you have it.
When you say us, you mean the collective intelligence group? Is
microphone, please, Denise.
When you say us, do you mean the collective intelligence group, or what
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, as far as us goes, sure.
And can you tell me a little bit about your background, Dylan? Like who?
Yeah, sure. I am a humanitarian systems integrator. I've been connecting and working with a very large, diverse group of mentors, inventors, catalysts, folks that weren't able to bring some of their visionary inventions to market. I would step in and help stabilize companies corporations. I would take an advisory role or sometimes take the helm for a period of 6 months or so, and then hopefully move on and do other things. So I'm constantly working with really high level technologies that are off the radar, definitely not being focused on for various reasons, because they're very, very disruptive to the current systems in place and in power. But I've been working with just incredible people that are looking at decentralized energy, electromagnetic propulsion, airplanes that run on seawater. We have incredible formulas that can clean and purify the oceans, the waterways, the land, soil remediation, agricultural applications, vertical farming technologies, pretty much anything you can think of. We are currently working on rolling them out in different stages. We have a lot of financial, I guess I would say, I'm speaking as I have a lot of financial mechanisms that can do a lot of wealth building, endowment funds. I can take money that's loaned out and make sure that sponsors that want to lend out money for projects, they make an amazing return. And we're using AI technologies, forex trading, in the blockchain space, cryptocurrencies, developing decentralized autonomous organizations and templates like that. Just a lot of stuff. I've been working in this world for about 10 years. I started out at land conservation and basically have been nonstop working on bringing solutions forward and just collecting them and getting things ready to be brought forward in a template, in a cohesive way. And again, collective superintelligence has been an incredible way to kind of start bringing things and bringing people to a head that can actually, start really making the connections that need to be made in an open forum where a lot of input can be added to the conversation. So it's not just in a silo where, again, I want these things to be known about. I want things that I know about to be known on a much broader level. So that way we can start feeling like we're empowered to change the world, because we actually realize that we've had the technology all along for over 2 decades to make the transition happen. So I'm pretty much very similar to Jeff, as he is also a systems integrator of so many different things. So we're all the same cloth, if you will.
Do you mind if I ask more questions?
Not at all. Love your questions. Love it. Mm-hmm.
So these are like some of the resources that I wanted to know that are available. I know about Jeff's, his stuff is like, it's so much, and now I'm hearing of what I'm also a collector in a different realms, but so we can merge collections. But what I wanted to know is, you said bring together in a template in a cohesive way. So how is that being proposed? I mean, I know that we've got Brett's infinite world game thing, but that's a gaming system, and there's probably resources of ideas of how to bring things together. What kind of systems are in existence? We've got Zoom, we've got Ring Central. What else what's up the sleeves? I'm obviously you have a lot of connections, and what are we thinking?
Yeah, I'd be happy to field that one, and that really gets right to the heart of what collective superintelligence is, as we're kind of framing it here, which is I think in a very expansive way, and it's certainly not constrained, and it leaves open. In other words, anything that you would want to bring to it and say, hey, love everything you just told me, Jamin. Have you thought about this? And would you consider this? The answer is yes, because any form, we're essentially integrating myriad different media to work together. Let me just give you one tiny example, okay? Imagine that we as a group meet once a week to talk about any topic you want. Let's just take permaculture, okay? So we meet every Wednesday afternoon from 3 to 5 p.m. and we talk about permaculture. We have a big, nice Zoom video conference, and we really push the limits. How can we leverage permaculture to help people grow their own food right now in their backyard so they don't have to depend so much on the supply chain, et cetera, et cetera? And how do neighbors work together on that, and da-da-da-da, you know, all the way to soil conservation. And anyway, you know, that you can imagine. Okay. And then in between those meetings, okay, in between those weekly 2-hour Zoom video conferences, they all gather on Reddit, okay, and have not one, but multiple threads, right? So within a given 2-hour meeting, as you can imagine, they can cover a lot of different subtopics of permaculture, right? Well, for each subtopic, there'd be a different thread on Reddit. And so for the entire week, minus 2 hours, right, they're communicating asynchronously via text. And then once a week for 2 hours, they're communicating synchronously through this full enchilada medium of not just video and audio, but screen share. And here, let me share this 3-minute video I just pulled down off of YouTube, share computer sound. I mean, it's just full on, you know, as close as we can get to full immersion virtual reality, where we're all playing in the same playground with a bunch of really cool tools and other media at our disposal, right? And so just consider the, you know, the milk and Oreo, vegan, of course, both the milk and the Oreo, but the milk and Oreo dialectic between, that was a refreshing, you know, gulp of milk. I would like something sweet. Perfect. Oh man, now I really want to wash it down with some cool, not so sweet, but fatty and delicious milk. You know, you get my point. That dialect, that's one tiny thread, not tiny, it's actually pretty huge, but it's one thread within a whole bundle of threads that constitutes our conceptualization of collective superintelligence, which I'm happy to introduce to you, but it's kind of good to sort of feel into it, and that's why I asked for other perspectives. Nolan, feel free to share your perspective at any time. I mean, just like raise your hand and jump in. Myra, you too, if you're, go for it. Anyway, I think you're acknowledging me, but okay, so you'll raise your hand when you want to talk. Myra, Emery, etc., feel free to share. And Denise, please keep peppering the process with your questions, because that really helps guide the inquiry. So I'm happy at any time to just launch into a, you know, semi-formal, but nonetheless very back and forth conversation about collective superintelligence.
So Jamin, or Nolan, did you want to talk? Sorry. Okay, Jamin, what's your background? I know you're from the same area as me, kind of, but can you tell me a little bit about...
So I'll share a little with words, and then I'll also share some slides just to make it a little visual. But I come from a kind of a combined, deeply humanitarian and ecological background, and also high tech. And so I was corporate strategy manager at Microsoft, there for a number of years. And I've worked on online marketplaces, online communities, and some really out there concepts that were, you know, unfortunately ahead of their time, especially during the last decade of Steve Ballmer's reign. But anyway, nonetheless, did some great work there, very proud of. As a teenager, I went off to live in Spain at the age of 14 with Spanish relatives on my father's side, and saw just tremendous poverty, the gypsy communities there in the Spanish cities, and the kind of built-in indifference to the, traditional Spanish community, to the plight of these poor gypsies communities. And but then I just saw how, like, my own relatives from small children just grew up with this paradigm that they're other, right? They are other. It's almost like they're not even human or something. And so that was a real shock coming from the San Francisco Bay Area, which is just the total rainbow. I mean, I grew up with no concept of racism. My best friend growing up was Black, and I thought absolutely nothing of it, right? I mean, we just had full spectrum, you know, Bay Area. So, so for me, this was really shocking. And so out of that, I defined who I wanted to be in the world, and that is a person who heals. And ending hunger has been just a lifelong passion. And so I'll share some stuff visually. Let's see here. So, and I'll just kind of jump around to different topics, but one of the things that we've developed out of radish.org, which is pioneering a specific form of collective superintelligence, and we've also come up with a number of different solutions, one of which is a whole new standard for a compassionate economy. And that is the concept of certified compassionate companies, which meet the 3 criteria down below. And, you know, sometimes people ask, well, wait a second, how could you have a company that donates all of its profits to anything other than, you know, well, look at Newman's Own. That's a perfect example, right? They donate all their profits to charity. Here it's a bit more focused. And indeed, well, I could go on, but let's start with that. And so where would they donate their money to eradicate hunger? So we've also pioneered community cafes. These are, the vision currently is vegan community cafes that feed nutritious foods to the community, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for free. We make nutritious vegan food a basic human right. And the way that we would manifest this in the world today would be through delivery, right? The original concept is, of course, communal dining. And anyway, put these two together, and we stoke a virtuous cycle called the Hungerless Games, where CCC companies fund community cafes, and hunger, that becomes a story and a global movement. Oh my goodness, did you hear they eradicated hunger in Haiti? Well, how did they do that? Well, they've got community cafes all over the country, right? Well, who funds those? CCC companies. Well, I want to buy nothing but CCC, all right? Just like, you know, suddenly, you know, in a period of a few years, certified organic became a big thing. Well, certified compassionate can be a big thing. And are there certified compassionate companies? Well, let's take a look at the first. Sato Hemp, a hemp fashion house in Japan, led by the Sato family, currently Takuya Sato, my brother, is at the helm. And so leading, and so Sato Hemp is a CCC company. And Takuya Sato, the Sato family has the longest legacy of hemp in the world, going back many generations. He is the Hemperor of Japan, my brother Takuya Sato. So anyway, that's a bit of a share in terms of some of my passion. I spent much of my high school summers and winter vacations in Mexico leading latrine construction projects and health education, put together and published a health pamphlet. This is all in the state of Guanajuato, which becomes relevant later because the president of Mexico from 2000 to 2006 was from Guanajuato, President Vicente Fox, a good friend of mine. So anyway, after, and let me show some other slides. Okay. So in tech, I'm really into modeling and optimizing very complex systems and networks. And so back in the 90s, I did a lot of modeling and optimization, worked with Natural Selection Incorporated of La Jolla, California, worked at CEMEX. They actually hired me on to lead a team of engineers to optimize, to build the biggest simultaneous optimization of production and logistics ever done for a man-made material, human-made material, as is cement. So we simultaneously optimized production planning and all the logistics, including steamship, rail, truck, bulk, palletized, etc., for the whole company. And this is one of the reasons why they're the most profitable cement company in the world. From there, I went off into the humanitarian realm, living in Mexico and seeing how serious the digital divide was, and being a total technophile. I then put together a company with some partners to build and operate educational computer centers inside public schools in Mexico. And so we imported refurbished computers from the United States, which are dirt cheap, got them down to Mexico, got them all totally up to specs, and boom, rolled out computer centers. And here I am signing a contract with the governor of the state of Sinaloa to build computer centers throughout the state. This caught the attention of then newly minted President Vicente Fox, who made his first official trip to the state of Sinaloa to inaugurate Shively International's 25th educational computer center there. Anyway, lots more to say about that. Was at Microsoft for a number of years, led Project Zurich to optimize our online networks from MSN to Microsoft.com, etc. Myriad properties of Microsoft's. And then also Project Venice, which got the attention of Bill Gates, and had a number of meetings with him and Ray Ozzie about really optimizing global commerce, mainly from a business to business perspective, and as a way to leapfrog Google from B2C to B2B. And at my recommendation, Bill Gates met with Jack Ma of Alibaba, who, this was way before their IPO. And I said, Bill, you got to check out Jack Ma. Anyway, a lot of good stories. But from there, I graduated from Microsoft and became the Bill Gates, from working with Bill Gates to becoming the Bill Gates of cannabis. My great-grandfather, speaking of family legacy, Diego Pellicer, a Spaniard, was the largest grower of hemp in the world in the Victorian era, the late 1800s. And he had thousands of acres of hemp plantations in the Philippines, where he was also vice governor, as it was a Spanish colony. Anyway, he was kind of the Halliburton of Spain at the time. He supplied the Spanish Armada with hemp rope for the Spanish fleet. That was this critical element to naval warfare, of course, with these massive hemp ropes. Anyway, that's what he did. And so based on his legacy of growing hemp, I built a brand called, with his name, Diego Pellicer, to represent premium cannabis. And the media immediately came out to find out, what's this all about? They had to get the scoop. How did this former Microsoft executive, now suddenly becoming the Bill Gates of Bud? What the heck is going on? The Taiwanese actually gave me that name, the Bill Gates of Bud. They created this evil anime character who's trying to push ganja to 15-year-olds or something like that. Anyway, that's Jamin Shively for you. And I got invited back to New York. It was on Fox News with Lauren Simonetti. I got interviewed on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange by Deborah Borchardt, announcing the .bong era of legalized cannabis. But when I invited former Mexican President Vicente Fox into the picture, everything exploded. Because what we did was we threw down the gauntlet and publicly challenged the Obama administration. Now, see, at this point, he is ex-Mexican president, but he's the most well-known Mexican president probably in the last 75 years or something like that, or maybe 60 years. But anyway, here we are with Wolf Blitzer. We just got covered by all the major media, because what we did was we held an historic press conference in which we gathered together the leadership, everything spanning medical, scientific, legal, industry association, you name it. We got together the whole leadership of the cannabis, the nascent cannabis industry at that time. This is in 2013, and held an international press conference. There we are in the tallest building in Seattle, the Columbia Tower, and hold an international press conference challenging and insisting that the Obama administration give us an answer. Are you going to let us proceed? Yes or no? Right? And President Fox made an impassioned plea. This is all up on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing. But he made an impassioned plea about stopping the violence, the carnage in his country that's just destroying his country from prohibition. So he came to support us, and we went on to do an international tour that summer that culminated in a 3-day international symposium in Mexico that President Fox and I co-hosted and co-organized in just a matter of weeks. The whole thing was just on fire. And for example, representatives from Uruguay came to the conference, as well as from throughout Latin America, Europe, North America. And within a few months, Uruguay became the first country to legalize cannabis as a country, not just as a state, but as a country. Anyway, that's a little color to my background. And anyway, I think I've talked a bit much. I'm gonna pause myself and see if anyone else wants to share, or if we have any questions, and then we can get into a semi-formal introduction to collective superintelligence whenever the time is right.
I bet Denise wasn't expecting you to pull out a PowerPoint.
Oh, the microphone is far away, Denise. We can't hear you.
Thank you. I'm newly set up here. I say why not? I could pull out a few, but I'm not as organized as you, and I certainly don't have such a being out there. I'm more been underground. So
awesome. Well, everyone is welcome in the collective superintelligence. In fact, as Pele said upon winning the 1958 World Cup for Brazil, it's our differences that make us beautiful, right? So all full spectrum, everyone, and even beyond the spectrum, especially invited, encouraged. In fact, that's what we're made of. We're kind of a bunch of misfits who've come together with a common dream, a common vision of humanity united as a unified intellect, as a super intellect. And in fact, there's a quote that I'll read to you. Oh, it's 420. Well, that's we've been getting all these numerical signs lately. But anyway, let me see here. Let me pull up. Let me just see if I can pull it up here real quick. No, that's not going to find it. Nolan, do you have that quote from the book Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom handy?
Yes, I can pull it up.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Anyway, we'll get to that. But what you're going to hear in that quote is a really powerful framing for exactly what we're doing here. Have you read Kurt Vonnegut, Cat's Cradle, by any chance? Okay. Anyway, have you heard of like Ice 9, the crystal Ice 9, that when it lands in water, just anyway, it's basically just about a phase transformation. Cesare, welcome back. We were singing your praises earlier, and a couple people were like crying because you weren't here. But anyway, welcome back. That's the bottom line. And Cesare, have you met Denise, who's been with us the last couple hours or so? Okay. All right. All right. Wonderful. So we're giving a bit of an introduction to collective superintelligence, to which you're invited to contribute. We're all doing it kind of stone soup style. While Nolan is digging up that quote, you got it? Nolan, do you want to read it, or do you want to email it to me? What do you prefer? As you wish.
I can read it.
Huh?
I'll read it.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, so from Nick Bostrom's Superintelligence. But what of the seemingly more fanciful idea that the internet might one day wake up? Could the internet become something more than just the backbone of a loosely integrated collective superintelligence? Something more like a virtual skull housing an emerging unified superintellect? This was one of the ways that superintelligence could arise, according to Werner Vinge's influential 1993 essay, which coined the term technological singularity. Against this, one could object that machine intelligence is hard enough to achieve through arduous engineering, and that it is incredible to suppose that it will arise spontaneously. However, the story need not be that some future version of the internet suddenly becomes superintelligent by mere happenstance. A more plausible version of the scenario would be that the internet accumulates improvements through the work of many people over many years, work to engineer better search and information filtering algorithms, more powerful data representation formats, more capable autonomous software agents, and more effective protocols governing the interaction between such bots. And that myriad incremental improvements eventually create the basis for some more uniform form of web intelligence. It seems at least conceivable that such a web-based cognitive system, supersaturated with computer power and all other resources needed for explosive growth, save for one crucial ingredient, could, when the final missing constituent is dropped into the cauldron, blaze up with superintelligence.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Nolan. Denise, got your message. You're going to have to head out in like 20 minutes or so, or 18 minutes at this point. So why don't I be very efficient and just give a super brief intro, okay? So collective superintelligence has a number of different facets to it, okay? Kind of like that story of the 7 blind folks who are each touching a different part of an elephant, and each one swears that it's, like this, it's like this, etc. So it's kind of like that. So I'm gonna lay out 2 of the facets in order. First, taxonomy, actually taxonomy and wholeness, taxonomy and holism kind of rolled into one. And the second will be the conversational domain. All right, very, very different facets. And then there are other facets. And then I'll kind of show a whole map of the facets with the whole narrative, having introduced 2 of the both the first in the narrative and 2 of the biggest. So first, let me share. And somebody please give me a time check at 10 minutes from now, just so in case I start going long and I need to speed it up. Let's see here. Okay, so whole world. What does our world need to be whole? And there's a lot of different ways that you can break it down. And I can't emphasize that enough. And in fact, that led us to develop, when I was at Microsoft, the concept of a Wixonomy, a wiki taxonomy, that there's, as a whole population of possible taxonomies that just grows and grows. So you can express anything in myriad different ways. But so this is one formulation, which is to break it down for people and planet. and break it down into what each needs, right? And break those needs into subgroups, etc. So very conceptually, right, with just some example topics, you can imagine doing a complete breakdown. This just shows some of the example breakouts, like, you know, well, people need food as listed up here. You know, how do we break that down? Well, why don't we do it by continent, you know, and then, you know, urban versus rural, whatever. But you can imagine breaking it down into its logical, kind of MECE, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive leaf node needs. Think of this as just one big upside down tree. Here's the trunk, whole world. And the leaf node needs are the individual needs of, you know, people and planet. And this is another picture of exactly the same thing. Whole world at the top, leaf node needs at the bottom. And so consider that these are all the specific needs of a whole world. Then the question becomes, how do we, you know, go about meeting each of these specific needs? And at a later time, we can look at the brain swarming methodology, which basically results in this picture. If the specific need is, say, remove ice from power lines, break it down into different ways that we can meet that need, and then sub-ways, and even sub-ways, just keep breaking down different ways. And then at the bottom, you've got resources. So for bottom-up thinkers, you know, you can start at the resource level. Top-down thinkers can think very high level, and they can meet in the middle. And this is a way, and people can collaborate. Think of these as like Post-it notes. Each rectangle is a Post-it note. So anyway, it's a really cool methodology. Now, if we then apply that methodology to all of the needs of a whole world holistically, right? And form solutions, connecting combinations of resources to ways and subways, et cetera, of meeting a given need. And then do this simultaneously and in parallel for a whole bunch, for all different needs. I'm just going to show, like, you know, 3 at a time, for example. And then also map out unintended consequences as well as the intended consequences of meeting a need. And then also with the blue lines, map the unintended positive consequences, right? Or, you know, or unexpected or unanticipated positive impacts of a given solution. Map out the whole spaghetti factory of the whole thing, and go from there. I'm just kind of, you know, giving a super high level overview, but the basic idea is that we apply the conversational domain, which I'll talk about separately, to facilitating and accelerating these developments in terms of meeting the world's myriad needs with myriad solutions. And missing solutions teams can be formed very quickly within the conversational domain to have meetings about how we're going to go about developing a solution to meet a given void, for example. Anyway, once all the solution development is done and complete, and we've got all the solutions that we think we need, then we can simulate these in a computer model, much as what we did for CEMEX. And as we did for CEMEX, we built an optimization layer around the model so that we wouldn't have to manually explore different combinations, but simply use AI to discover the optimal solution. In this case, we're looking for the optimal set of solutions to all the world's problems and to all the world's deficits. And let's talk for a minute about the conversational domain. Just like you see here in the picture, different people are meeting on different topics. Well, imagine just a really vast conversational domain where there are, you know, say 1 million conversations happening in parallel on all manner of different topics. In fact, backing it up, we could be having conversations about every facet of the whole world, starting at the very top. There could be conversations about the whole concept of a whole world to begin with. And then, you know, different ways to break it down. And, well, why are you separating out people? And, well, why not? Why not some different way, right? Et cetera, all the way down the stack, all the way to the leaves, right? So literally conversations on each and every one of these topics within the taxonomy, as well as conversations about solutions that are forming, why not, and conversations about data and how to interpret it and how to actually build out the map for a given solution of positive and negative impacts, intended or otherwise. Conversations literally about anything that's on any slide. There can literally be a conversation about. And so for the conversational domain, let me, let's see. Here, let me just go back to the screen here. So if we've got like 1 million conversations happening in parallel, imagine that each of those is happening on a separate lane of a 1 million lane highway, right? And that each conversation is like a group of people just marching forward at about a mile an hour, a very slow pace, but they're leaving behind a printed transcript of everything that they're saying, which gets immediately and simultaneously indexed so that it's searchable. So that among these million, let's say you're just an alien who just comes and lands on Earth and they're like, whoa, okay, there's 1 million conversations going on here, cool. And then you use like a search engine and say, find me a conversation where they're talking about, you know, using arrays of mirrors in the ocean to reflect sunlight back into space to cool the planet, you know, solar radiation management. It would find the, you know, couple hundred conversations among the million that are talking about that. And then you could put in whatever other advanced search criteria. Look, I really want to be talking with engineers, not economists. You know, take me to the meetings where the engineers are meeting, right? Because I'm an engineer and that's where I want to contribute, right? And, or you could say, no, I want to have expansive conversations about the, you know, the psychic and philosophical impacts of SRM, you know, great, you know, go to that meeting. And of course you can, you know, be voyeuristic and kind of peer into meetings as they're happening, and then you can teleport in with the click of a mouse. You can submit your comments, questions by chat. And then, and we call it sort of like intellectual polyamory, where it's totally cool to just jump from conversation to conversation, lane change, you know, within the 1 million lanes, and with myriad benefits that I'm sure you know, you can just imagine or have been imagining all your life. But the cool thing is, see, with Zoom video conferencing, combined with Reddit, like I talked about before, combined with so many amazing web services that are free, right? Including the transcription, transcription, indexing, search. Google does all that for free. And we could do site search or whatever just to make it very specific within the domain of transcripts of actual conversations, right? So the big picture is that each of these 1 million conversations becomes essentially a part of the brain. You see these brain maps. Well, just imagine that, you know, it literally, the set of all conversations equals the brain. Plus all the transcripts. That's the memory of the brain, of everything that brain has experienced, right? And of course, the whole rest of the web and all that. And so, but that's when the web becomes intelligent. It becomes intelligent not because of some strong AI somewhere, but because these intelligent humans come together in a hyper intelligent way that's just totally connected. And so, for example, you know, like most engineers, I have a number of very niche specific specialties, right, that are, you know, that are just on the head of a pin in terms of the taxonomy of knowledge, right? And so if I put essentially my LinkedIn resume, everything I've ever published, everything I've ever, you know, my whole hard drive, for crying out loud, you know, contribute that to the system so they can basically index all of that, and then say, okay, whenever there's a conversation happening that needs an engineer with Jamin's talents, let Jamin know if he wants to be alerted. And so I can basically say, hey, listen, if wherever I'm needed, just alert me. And then of course I'll choose whether I come to that specific meeting or not, right? But at the same time, that same alert may go out to 10 people, and 2 or 3 of them may respond, and okay, well now too many of us have showed up. Well, that's a good problem to solve, all right? Anyway, you get my point. So people can, and so conversations can explicitly make known what they need in order to complete whatever they're trying to do, because it's very goal oriented, right? And now is as good a time as any to transition to the next slide. How am I doing timing wise? I hope I'm doing okay. All right, great. 5 minutes? Okay, great. Got the 5-minute warning. Thanks everyone for your patience. All right, so back to slides. Here is a map of the big picture of collective intelligence. Think of it as a yellow brick road with 8 huge bricks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go counterclockwise. Start here and go counterclockwise. So it starts with the conversational domain as we've been discussing. This leads to increasingly deep understanding of our problems, of solutions, of opportunities, of visions for global transformation. We can map these visions out in a whole world taxonomy, not the one I showed you, but the one that makes sense to you, right? And from the leaf node needs here, we use brainstorming, as I mentioned, to develop myriad ideas for solutions to all these problems, some of which can solve multiple problems in parallel. The best ideas pass on to the design phase, where we essentially create a GitHub of solutions by and for solutionaries to do open source design on the best ideas. Whatever the community wants to work on, they work on. Those then get passed on to global holistic modeling, as I mentioned, the optimization layer surrounding that, and at the end of all this, out pops the optimal set of solutions and detailed implementation plans. It is sequential like this, but then there's myriad feedback loops. Notably, the conversational domain gets in everybody's business. It's just out here wherever there's a topic happening, anywhere here. If it's modeling, if it's design, if it's taxonomy, if it's whatever it is, there'll be conversations happening, lubricating and facilitating, accelerating this whole pattern leading to solutions and detailed implementation plans. And this spans solutions at all different levels, including engineering solutions, political solutions, financial solutions, cultural solutions, media solutions, as President Vicente Fox and I mastered over the course of our work together. You know, those were media solutions. What to say, how to put out the press release, right? Who to invite, how to organize the event, etc. Right? Media solutions, memes, religious solutions, right? We've been working on the Catholic Church to get on board, right? And having meetings with them, you know, proposing specific solutions for them, etc. So anyway, that's the big picture. Any questions before you depart, Denise? And please take your time. And welcome, Michael. Welcome, Michael, who's recently joined us. Go ahead, Denise. And we can't hear you, Denise. We need your microphone.
Sorry. I just want to say thank you, and really interesting. And yeah, I'm really interested in systems, and I've actually been an interface designer on systems for visionary technology myself. Technology that never made it, but always, you know, kind of was ahead of its time as well. So I've worked in the think tank for over 20 years with visionary people on and off, as well as going off and being a nomad in the world. So I'm really interested in coming up with solutions and brainstorming. It's one of my really great aspects. And I also am very good at bridging worlds, and I'm specifically thinking about thriving Earth, and I'm really into quantum reality creation. So, I mean, I'm spiritual, but I'm technological designer, and I've got small collective of good friends here and there. And yeah, so I love what you're doing. I also have specified some things that I call the future of omni-intelligence. So I feel like I've already thought of what the future of artificial intelligence is, but then again, I've also been living, you know, on the beach. So who knows where it's actually, I go in and out of technology, and I've been diving into the technology of myself through my neurobiology and getting to know that and my systems and how I interact energetically with the fields around me and the fields within me. And that's why I'm working with Dreamtime. So I work with artists, and then I have worked in technology, but I'm kind of like that vision. They called me Imagineer, Visioneer stuff, which is complementary. But so I'm looking forward to, you know, how I can implement and help ideas happen, and also to, you know, where my role really best belongs in this realm. I definitely think that human hope and having the human collective mind in a good space is very important. And I've thought of systems that we can make to help that come online. I'm mostly interested in health and wellness, and all the systems that I've designed by myself when I was working for another company, think tank kind of thing. I was always doing for health and wellness. They always wanted me to do it for identity and personal intellectual property and lack of data mining and like keeping everything very private, and how exchanges of information are going to be in zero knowledge and all that kind of stuff. And that's really intense for me. I'm not really into that. If you guys want to go do that, I'm more into transparency and that humanity just come online with themselves. And if we can just get the human hearts in a good space, that's where I'm at. I think that's most important. And we're because our heart is what I call a magnetic Faraday cage as it is. So we can attract and repulse things much easier, especially when we all come into alignment what our center is and what we want and where we're pivoting from as captains of our own helm of our dream vessel, this embodiment on earth, enchanted earth. So yeah. So I really thank you, and I look forward to more conversations about this. And I'd love to share with you what I'm doing, but I'd also love to dive deeper into the think tank of what strategizing for the systems are. So now I'm going to go to a healing group called the Circle of Eight. So, and they're going to heal me today. So the question I'm asking for is how I may actually be of service in a way that where my heart is fully online with all of us in the Indra's net of the network of light. And I can't wait to tell you about my projects. So
well, we can't wait to hear about them. We meet every Tuesday. Feel free to give me your email address if you want. Well, here, I'll just give you mine. Jamin, I'll just put it in the chat, and just feel free to send
I'll give you mine too.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Denise. And
thank you.
So yeah, and I'll put you on the emailing list. You can always, opt out at any time, but for all our meetings, which are every Tuesday like this one, it's a long one. And then every Friday, starting at 6 a.m. Pacific time, we have the block party, which goes for a full 24 hours until 6 a.m. Saturday Pacific time. And that's very much like this. And we cover a whole bunch of topics in those 24 hours. So
cool.
Look forward to seeing you. And
thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Denise.
And gals. Okay, I'm gonna.
Sure. Great to see you. Let's see you soon. Oh my goodness. And again, Dylan, look at you, man.
I know, right?
Well, and the thing is, you keep bringing gianter and gianter giants of thought and innovation and connection. And look at Cesare, right? Look at you, look at Cesare.
Right.
And now Denise.
It's like I feel like I'm I have like a little shame. I'm like, God, I should not be just talking one-on-one with some of these people. It's like I wish I'm not the only one hearing these conversations on my phone call. I would love to have these conversations I usually have on an open forum like this, because it's like, I can't be the only ears knowing that this is possible, on some of these levels. It's like ridiculous. So thank you.
You're welcome. You know what? And that's just reminding me, that's, yet another benefit to joining Collective Superintelligence is you get on the record with your idea.
Right.
And get
exactly
free, immediate, real-time, face-to-face feedback and consulting. Right?
Exactly. Yep.
You know,
There's an actual historical record of like that these conversations are taking place and they're meaningful, and it's not just being forgotten the next day. You know, it's great.
This is all going into a database, right? And, you know, we're still working on hooking up a computer monitor to the database and a mouse, you know, so that we can mess with it. But for now, it's all just kind of going into the vault, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, but hey, you know, we're building up our assets. And
and what assets they are. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Dude, unreal. And
it's great to have your background recorded. You did a wonderful job talking about everything you've been through yet again, but just that was a great sharing yourself.
No, dude,
so
thank you.
It was great.
Well, yeah, I mean, I really wanted Denise and everyone to know, you know, who's Jamin Shively, right?
I know, right?
And you know, and I want to, you know, set an example of just totally sharing, right? All different aspects of life. And because, you know, that's part of us all getting connected, sharing who we are, sharing our story, right?
Another thought I had too, Jamin, and I know, my God, time is limited on many levels, but I was gonna think about even if it was just us or you, just getting onto some of these YouTuber podcasts and just, you know, just being an ambassador of collective intelligence, and just, you know, you know, a lot of these videos are getting hundreds of thousands of views. You know, it's like, you know, just a nice 30-minute intro of what we're working on. I mean, I don't know how easy it is, and maybe Nolan, you might know, or others, but I've never really gone after that because I'm just a watcher usually, but I don't know how easy it is to just message a channel being like, hey, can you have this person on your show? Or, you know, I don't know how all that works, but I just think it's just another way to get the word out there and have some other sound bites, you know, pointing in this direction. Any comments?
I love the idea. I absolutely love it.
I just don't know how to do it or how to go about it, you know, but
yeah, totally. And I don't either. And another thing is, like with our 6-hour meeting with Cesare yesterday, and you know, a multi-hour meeting today, and the 24-hour block party, I did the math, and you know, I might net out at 40 hours of video conference.
Yeah, right.
40 hours.
That's what I was saying.
And
to add any more hours would be insane. But
well, and not only that, but here's the thing. That's not where I was going. I will jump at the opportunity to get on any podcast and get interviewed. Where I was going was, I don't really have bandwidth to do the searching for those podcasts myself.
I have that covered. I could do that for you.
Oh, dude. Yep. And you seem to have a magical superpower of getting into places, right?
Yeah.
Hey, hello.
One of my superhuman abilities.
Well, Dylan, you are senior vice president. You are a board member and senior vice president of Intergalactic Interconnection, right?
The only reason I got that position is because I'm always in service to others in the planet. So the universe definitely reciprocates where my heart is.
No, dude, so you have totally grabbed onto the high voltage line of that magical formula, and are just wow.
And by the way, I love that too, Emery. Omni intelligence. That was something, actually. That really clicked for me a little bit. I'm like, omni intelligence. Even on a branding perspective, it's nice to be able to condense words together. So it's like you can almost hang on to omni. You know, anyway, I like that. Maybe, Emery, why don't you talk about that if you want? But anyway, it was a cool thing she was doing with the wording of that. it brings a spherical nature to it. But anyway, I liked it.
Yeah, I like
Emery was just,
Dylan.
yeah, I just like,
I hope to hear from her again and let
mhm.
her talk about what she's involved in. You know, interesting. I'm gonna look into it more. I'm not very up on the topic. I'm looking into it.
Yeah, just things to think about. But yeah, I will. I'll get a list of some YouTubers that I think would be great for you, Jamin, and definitely can jump on some of them with you as well, or whatever. That's all easy to do. And I was also thinking, just on the fly, as I'm speaking, imagine if we actually maybe offered some of the YouTubers something where, like, hey, we're doing this thing, we're doing a 24-hour block party. We would love to give an hour of our time to just host your show on the block party. I don't know. That's just another way to maybe, offer them something more dynamic than just like, oh, another person wants to be on my show. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, brilliant, Dylan. You also have this. You also have quite a gift for seeing these synergies, right?
Yep.
It's like, hey, here we are broadcasting live from the Collective Intelligence Block Party. All right.
I know.
You-
What a great thing to say, right? Oh my gosh.
On location, right? In the
Yeah,
new world of
right.
everyone's at home in their pajamas, on location, right? At the block party.
Well,
Yeah.
gentlemen, just in case you didn't know, I am doing a YouTube show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's just early getting going, but it is within the specific format of using the Agora. But it's, even though it has a format, it still has a lot of opportunities to do stuff with it. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay.
And
There's
that's
just so much at our fingertips.
that's one of the things I'm trying to do, is to work with other YouTubers to build this up. I mean, I don't really care about the show. It's not about the show. It's about showing people how to use our platform. But I think the best way is, well, yeah. So I'm building the channel as a result of trying to promote the platform. And I'm looking at collaborating with other YouTubers too, to do that, because it's we're trying to show people how to do democracy. But well, first of all, that's hard enough in itself. But then the whole aspect of getting people who are not camera shy and are willing to actually speak about their own ideas on camera, that's another restriction. So I've been trying to reach out to other YouTubers who are trying to get themselves out there and are not shy of the camera and are not afraid to stand up for their ideas. So it's a work in progress. But
Well, you know what's super cool, and I'm really grateful, Dylan, that you've delved into it. Nolan had also had similar ideas in weeks and months past, but I think it's really a beautiful moment for it, because especially if we bring them onto the block party to broadcast their show from there or record it there, or even they come and visit just to check it out, to test drive it a little bit. And then maybe a few days later, we have our interview on their podcast, on their whatever venue, is that when they get a taste of it, because one way or another, they're going to get a taste of the block party. And once you've had a taste of the block party, if you're ready for it, in terms of your developmental stages or maturity or getting it or whatever whatever that magic combination is, that you're ready for it. If you're ready for it, you'll come back and you'll bring friends, right? And you'll just want to be a part of it. So, and if you're not ready for it, that's okay too. Hey, we just had a great conversation about it, and your audience got to hear about it. So it's like a no-lose proposition, and potentially really, really explosive. Because among the people who watch those podcasts are other podcasters who are always looking for good people to interview. They want variety. Hey,
Yep.
we got variety for you.
Now take it another step further too. Like during our time of collective isolation, there's literally, and maybe Jeff and a New Hope Festival group might have some insights, but we got like John Legend playing in his house music to a group of people, live streaming on Facebook. I mean, there's just so much like talent. There's so much, there's so many isolated, amazing people that just don't have anything to do right now. And it'd be like, amazing if we had, let's host your jam session on collective superintelligence because we're raising awareness for this cause or this issue, or let's have there's just a lot of actually celebrity artists just doing live streaming from their bedroom. Well, it's like these seem so approachable now in a way.
And exactly. And listen, see, just like, Guy McPherson as a professor, he needs to profess, he needs to teach. That's who he is. Likewise, these artists need to perform at venues. Come perform at our block party.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah.
Come do a couple songs, and then let's have a conversation, right?
Right.
Which
right.
Which block party? Where? The collective intelligence block party. Right?
Yeah. It would get them for sure. So, and we can tag or whatever, stay at home tag or I mean, it could be a whole thing.
And we can reach out to musicians who are deep thinkers, many, if not most of whom are, right?
Yeah.
And, some of whom have podcasts where they talk about their deep thoughts or whatever else, or it just comes out in their music.
Mm-hmm.
And so send them an email saying, invitation to play at our virtual party. And then they'll be like, well, okay, right? Of course they're going to open the dang email, right?
Exactly.
And,
there's nothing else going on right now. Like we have people's attention right now, possibly.
That's
more so than ever before.
That's it. And they need to play, right?
Yeah.
So, in this tumultuous time, and another thing I wanted to add about the podcasters is, you see, they're currently in the modality of a one-to-many broadcast, or when they have a guest on, it's a two-to-many broadcast, effectively, right? Okay,
mm-hmm. Yep.
Then, Facebook in your questions, whatever the heck, okay, great. There's a little bit of back and forth, but there's no comparison between a many-to-many conversation. There's just this is a dimensional enhancement on what they're doing, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do, we're going to be the Pied Piper, right? You've got all these podcasters who are kind of trapped in this flatland, two-dimensional universe where everything's flat, but because that's all they've ever known. And then we come along and show them a dimensional enhancement. Boom, this giant, pitching a tent in the third dimension, right? Wow.
Yeah.
They'll never go back, or they'll go back, but they'll also keep coming.
Yep. No, I totally would like to pursue that in whatever way. And by the way, Nolan, or I guess Jamin, do you have a Facebook group called, Collective Superintelligence, or is there a group that I can invite people to start populating?
That's what we should do. That's exactly what we should do. We should create
there's like 80,000 people in some of these groups. It's like, wow.
Well, and here's the thing: collective superintelligence, 2 words. Collective superintelligence, 2 words. And that's the group to form. That's it right there. And then find a cool image, and then link. And then link to what we're doing. Say hello, everyone. We meet on Zoom video conferences at least twice a week. Here are the 2 standing weekly events. Please join us. Everyone's invited, and click here and here and here and here to get intro videos, and here's a basic summary, right? And
that's a place where we put our Zoom link whenever we have our meetings. It's like, hey, here's our upcoming Zoom link, jump on, and there could be like 10,000 people in that group. Like, all right, like that's a way to like I feel like one of our missing links right now is we need like a rally point. So that way it's like people just know to just jump on. And sadly, Facebook's like one of the only ones that does it that way, which
You're
is
right. You're
to
right.
do it well.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right, Dylan. We just got to do that. There's no two ways about it.
So
And
I can create that tonight if you want.
I don't see why not. Nolan,
Why not?
you cool with that, Nolan?
I'll make Nolan and you admins, of course.
Cool. Yeah, I was just thinking. I don't know if we can change the details at all, but we do already have a Radish page. I don't actually know how much activity in terms of people liking or subscribing to that page, whatever it is on Facebook.
Oh, well, the cool thing is, Nolan, Radish could actually, it's basically like Radish is the parent of the group. So Radish would be at the top, like just notarized as this has been created by the Radish team. You know what I'm saying? So you would actually have a link right to your Radish community page that people can like as well. So I've seen people do that. Like they have a parent company, they create a group, and like literally Radish is on the masthead of the group.
You know, and I have mixed feelings about that. On the one hand, I see definite benefits to it. On the other hand, here's what I'm thinking. Dylan, since you are such a connect, I mean, there's no words to describe you, but if I had to use words, you know, you're such an
A
amazing
celestial ambassador.
That's it, celestial ambassador. I'm almost thinking it would be better if you were like the head honcho of the Collective Superintelligence Facebook group, and the one
Sure.
because you live on Facebook, I don't, and you know, so you'd be the. I mean, just like I'm kind of the natural guy to welcome everyone to the block party, and hey, how you doing, and tell us your story,
Yep.
and whenever you're ready, and no pressure, and you know, I'm the guy.
I can keep that group really engaged for sure. Yep, I totally agree.
That's what I'm talking about. And, you know, obviously, you know, Nolan or frankly, anyone who wants to get involved as well and work with you on that. I mean, you're just like the easiest person in the universe to work with. So, you know,
Totally.
jump in. And then, you know, and Cesare, that would be an awesome place for you to post, you know, Agora stuff. And say, you know, very happy to be a part of this group. You know, I participate in these meetings, and then, you know, that way people who see your stuff would say, wow, well, here's a way for me to connect with Cesare, right? Because he's, you know, both on Facebook and on in our meetings, our Zoom meetings. So,
and another thing I've seen happen on Facebook groups is they have like affiliate groups. So it's like if we can plug all these other groups out there that have 70,000 people. All, you know, big or small groups, it's like you can have association to Collective Intelligence, and you're forming these like, hey, you know, because they're promoting us on the other groups as like, hey, we're an affiliate of this group, why don't you join them as well? If you joined us, why don't you join them too, kind of thing, because we're all part of that same ecosystem, you know, curated. So that's just another cool thing about that. I've spent a lot of time researching a lot of this stuff, so I can definitely put this together based on experience. And again, I have Sandra's whole group on Facebook. And basically, what I find in Facebook, a lot of these people, even celebrities, they're much more approachable on Facebook. You can just message them, and you either get a message back or not. And most of the time, you actually get a message back. You know, depending on how well you open yourself up. You know. So you're not just a fan or something, right? So
no, I love it. I absolutely love it. That's super cool. And yeah, and just Collective Superintelligence. That's it. Boom.
Yep.
And
yep.
Exactly.
That way,
and to disassociate. I mean, my only concern about Radish creating it is that I don't want people to feel like, you know, it's got some brand associated with it, and this is, you know, yet another marketing gimmick for yet another.
Want to be more open source.
Yeah,
yeah.
And because you know, Dylan, you know, you exist on Facebook. Radish doesn't really exist on Facebook, and so you're a real dude with a gazillion friends and really cool stuff going on. So when people see that Dylan created the Collective Superintelligence Facebook page, they're going to
Yeah,
say,
there'd be more
"Who's
influence there.
Dylan?" Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
if somebody says, "Hey, Jamin, party tonight at Dylan's house," my first question is, "Who's Dylan?"
Yeah.
Right? And
It's
then
funny, like it's funny, like if you're friends with enough high level people, quote unquote, if you're mutual friends, it's like, oh, he's already friends of this guy that I know who's really cool, or like, oh, these friends of Sandra and she's with them and blah blah blah. It's like, oh, it's like instant trust based on who your network is. And I've done a good job of curating a network that's like, okay, they understand that I'm not just like a joke or all that kind of stuff. So that's definitely something I can add as far as, this is a real thing that we're putting together. Anything like that I can offer. I can definitely do that in that framework easily.
beautiful. And I'm curious, do you tweet also, Dylan?
I don't. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm like, it just seems like a waste, because it's like you have to build up your Twitter for years, it seems, to get like a lot going on. But I could be wrong. I'm just not sticking to those character limits.
Well, let me put it out there to the universe that
let me know.
let me put it out there to the universe that we are looking for a Dylan of Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for the Dylan of Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Someone like you who's really into Twitter, right?
Yeah. They're out there. They're out there for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like, for example, earlier in our meeting today, Charlie posted this. I'm just copying and pasting. I'm retweeting what Charlie posted. Just kidding. So he's creating this thing called Corona Wisdom on Twitter, readying to activate at Kiko.
Oh, nice.
And that's their site. So we need a Dylan of Twitter who can just like, okay, great, got it, boop, I'm going to add that to the feed, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and who's just like totally plugged into the tweetosphere. Because my understanding is that there are a lot of people are looking for us on Twitter, and yet we're just not tweeting, right? They're looking for what we got, right? And invitations to Zoom meetings amongst them. And another thing we're going to need is a Dylan of Reddit, right? I don't know if we have that, if we have that already, but we need a Dylan of Reddit, someone who just like lives on Reddit. You know how like everybody kind of lives on their favorite social network? That's just kind of where they live. I live on YouTube. I live on Zoom, right? Not even so much on YouTube, but just like I just live right here. I mean, spending 40 hours a week in face-to-face meetings like this.
Yeah.
I mean, and not only that, but actually, moderating the meetings, right? Which is a thing in itself. But anyway, it's definitely changing me in good ways. Michael, how you doing? Good to see you.
Is there technology possible where you're streaming on YouTube, and can you stream on Facebook as well through Zoom? Or I don't know what the back office looks like.
Yeah,
you're doing multiple streaming.
Nolan has already mastered that. We had a technical hiccup this last time. I don't know if we need to just create a fresh Zoom link for every meeting, Nolan, or how we're going to deal with that. But the short answer is we've got that mastered. That's the short answer.
Okay.
Cool. for YouTube and Facebook live streaming. Yeah. Great. And so I really think our among our big four opportunities right now are the first two that you've identified, Dylan, and hats off to you for that, because that also just got us thinking in terms of the set of opportunities. But the first two are going to the podcast community and basically, inviting ourselves in, and, feel free to represent yourself as, the vice president of PR of radish.org or something.
Sure.
You're hereby nominated. Poof, I christen you vice president of of media relations or community, or whatever. You get
Diplomatic relations. Yeah.
Whatever. And then if you're reaching out on behalf of Jamin Shively, president of radish.org, then of course you know how all that works. Anyway, so that was number one, reaching out to the podcastosphere and getting us interviewed there and inviting them to host their show within the block party, right? So bam, that whole thing. And then second is Facebook, and that's what got me thinking about the other two, which is Twitter and Reddit, right? This is us just just getting deeply embedded in those communities, and initiating thread. Somebody who lives in Reddit, asking them, if they want to, be in a couple more Reddit threads is like asking me if I want another scoop of, frozen coconut milk chocolate dessert. Yes, right. It's just like, because that's and somebody who just posted, Emery just posted Twitch. Twitch is another one that I've heard about that could be good.
Okay.
But I would really go with the big four that we've identified: Podcastosphere, Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we could probably add one or two more to that list.
Yep. I'm going to get to work on that tonight for sure, on the group on Facebook. And again, we can start reaching out to people that do join that group and you're like, hey, we're looking for people that can, work with us on Reddit, work with us on Twitter. I mean, there's a connection effect that we can start using.
Totally. And the cool thing is, the interview loop for these positions is the Block Party and the Solution Club. That's the interview loop, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. Yeah, it's huge.
It's freaking huge. Right? Talk about a decentralized organization that has face-to-face meetings, right?
Yeah. Right. Right.
I mean, let's face it. The bottom line of our philosophy as collective superintelligence, or one of its major pillars, right, is that, think the tallest spire in Barcelona, right? The major pillar is we need to come together and talk. We need to come together and have actual conversations, long form, where we actually come and hang out and actually live together for a bit, right?
Yeah.
And really get deeply connected and really root down deep into our problems and the common roots of our problems. Yeah.
Another thing I like to later would be if we we're all watching a documentary together, and this Zoom forum could be we're literally just feedbacking with each other on just what we're watching together, and it could be something like a new paradigm documentary talking about technology, a solution, and that could be one way to. I mean, sadly, I think Zoom it's hard to actually play something streaming. Why? It's hard to stream a video because it gets choppy.
No, that hasn't been my experience. Nolan, has that been yours? Like if I've shared something, how does it come across?
I've in some cases it's been bad. Like I know when I can remember when like Brett shared some stuff. It seemed like it was really. It depends on the connection of the person sharing, I think.
Okay.
But isn't Jitsi better for that scenario? Nolan, didn't we learn that early on?
Jitsi can stream. Basically, it's streaming from YouTube. So instead of, I play you guys a video through Zoom, and then it's streaming through Zoom. I'm pretty sure Jitsi is actually streaming through YouTube for everyone on their own individual stream.
Oh, got it. Really?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
It's like everyone is watching the same YouTube video in their own isolated little bubble, but
Oh, that makes sense.
Jitsi makes it so that all the Kool-Aid gets poured into the glasses at exactly the same time.
Wow, that's really smart.
Yeah, no, it's super cool.
Yeah.
So we'll have to try that, because then we can turn that into a recorded video if that's interesting. I mean, Michael and Emery will understand what I'm saying when I talk about Beavis and Butthead, where they're just like watching a music video and then going and then commenting on it. Anyway, so anyway, and now that we've mentioned Beavis and Butthead, Emery has his hand up, so go for it, Emery.
Yeah, I just want to add a couple of cents, a couple of pennies of my thoughts here. I tend to see
these are Canadian pennies, everybody. So take note. Go ahead.
And throw in some dimes and quarters.
Yeah, how about some silver, Emery? Come on.
Yeah. Healing. Silver has a healing property. I see YouTube still as the king of the heap. You got to have YouTube, and YouTube is the main player. In all of this, they have the best platform and the highest quality. You've got the chat and all that's incorporated into that. People can contribute that further down the line. They got the live streaming, of course, and you have the platforms like Zoom that can easily stream to that platform. But at the same time, you could be streaming to Twitter through Periscope and to be live or places like that. And Zoom is always a great play. I like Zoom a lot, apart from Jitsi, because it's easy to use for a larger portion, more people will find it easier to use than Jitsi. I looked into Jitsi, I found it to be a little bit complex, too complicated. It was a head teaser, brain teaser. So I like the Zoom. Now, also Zoom, it's a good place where we could come together and share things, right? Like a video. I mean, obviously, when you're streaming live, okay, there are copyright concerns, so copyright considerations that you have to keep in mind. So that could be a little touchy, right? So when we're here just now, like see how many people there are from time to time, it's quite all right to share YouTube videos or whatever kind of information. You don't have to worry about the copyright, because we've come together more or less as a group privately, upon invitation. So we're allowed to share freely, and so there's no problem. It's when it goes out there live and there's a recording made that it becomes an issue. And I think it's a great thing that we could share like that. So I don't know, we could carry on with those ideas.
Well, I totally agree.
Yeah, I'm all about that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that YouTube is key as a as a social network.
Facebook too. You can.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe I think maybe we also need a YouTube, a Dylan of YouTube, right? And then once we've got the Dylans of these different social media, just like there's a club of Rome, there could be a club of Dylans where the Dylans get together and, compare notes and cross-pollinate. For example, one of the best ways to promote our YouTube stuff is going to be to put it up on our Facebook page, right? On the Collective Superintelligence Facebook page, right? That may be a more practical way of promoting it than anything we could do on YouTube, other than posting the video in the first place, right? For example. So let's look at these cross-media opportunities, right? And let's also recognize that we've created our own medium. I mean, for all I know, we may be the only weekly 24-hour video conference on the internet that's open to the public, that's a block party, right? We're certainly the only 24-hour weekly collective intelligence block party on the internet. Add enough characteristics and you make yourself totally unique. But I think beyond that, I think in a much bigger sense, just a weekly 24-hour public venue that people can get together and connect, right? That may be totally unique. Anyway, we're pioneering our own medium is what I'm suggesting with that. Now, currently it's one single Zoom video conference room. I think it's beckoning to branch out, partly because a lot of people like smaller groups. They don't necessarily, a lot of people don't want to be in a Zoom video conference with 50 other people, right? And we certainly have plenty of topics to branch off into that each require their own long format conversations, right? Like I'd love for Dr. Yatow of Harvard to, just run a freaking multi-hour meeting on SRM, right? Where we bring in a whole bunch of different folks and invite them to, contribute, right? Like we had this awesome gentleman, Douglas from Cleveland Heights, Ohio, who jumped on and was very knowledgeable about manufacturing and volume output and all that. And, we had a deep discussion about the glass industry and what it could support. One of the things that's really fascinating right now as industries are shutting down is all that capacity gets freed up for projects like, for example, SRM, solar radiation management, right? They'll be delighted for the work, right? The good news is we've got the capacity. We can start cranking stuff out. Which in turn leads to yet another vector that we've explored a little bit. Which is reaching out to specific industries and specific companies within those industries. Nolan was there when I got very excited one afternoon and reached out to the American Petroleum Institute, right? And said, hey, we could partner on SRM. We need the plastic and you need the new story that the way to cool the planet is not through decarbonization. We missed that window, right? So now we're on to stage 5 cancer where, you either break out the big guns or, it's curtains. So anyway, but I think that's not necessarily where we want to go right now. Maybe better let that evolve organically as more folks like Douglas, I think it's Douglas Mayhall of Cleveland Heights, as more Douglases show up, right? And who, with industry specific knowledge, contacts, experience, whatever, and then they can go ahead, Nolan. Oh, and yeah, go ahead.
So I didn't want to interrupt, but I just found something on YouTube that I thought was pretty cool. So Robert Steele is the guy that people have said Jamie Gilchrist looks like, and he has this YouTube channel, and he's like a former spy for the U.S. government, and he has this open source everything project that he's been working on for years, because he's just like basically doesn't hold. He's been through the government structure, so he knows he knows what's wrong and that there needs to be something new. Anyways, he just interviewed 3 days ago. He interviewed Tom Atlee, and they got like 7,000 views.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
about a 40-minute interview. I was just searching collective intelligence on YouTube to just see what comes up, and
All right.
that came up 3 days
Well,
ago.
please email me that, and we got to reach out to Tom and say, Tom, dude, let's follow up with, Jamie Gilchrist Doppelganger. What's his name again? Steele. Let's have a meeting with Mr. Steele, and let's go deep, and let's bring in Brett Warshawski. Let's bring in Cesari. Let's bring in Dylan. Let's bring in whoever we want to bring in from the realm of collective superintelligence, and let's have a party. Now afterwards we can meet at the block party, and have a couple beers or something. But in terms of Mr. Steele's podcast, let's make it very curated, right? And have a really badass agenda and everything. And it's win-win-win. He can publish it on his channel. We can publish it on ours, or not, or whatever. Heck, he can have the exclusive. We want to be on his channel. That's where we mostly want to be anyway, right? And then, it'll get thousands of views, especially the more people we bring into the conversation, because each of them can share it out through their own social media, right? My goodness, what an awesome meeting. Goodness gracious.
It's like the little sprint after the many hours that we've been on.
Well, the thing is that there's this kind of this weird magical rule of the universe that seems like if you really want to get purring along, it happens after hour 5 or something of the meeting.
Unless Darmendra's there early to get it started.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, long format sure as heck works for me. And the block party just takes it to a new level. But I mean, just look at this meeting. Look at how relaxed and open it is, and how we're able to just explore these different facets, right? And especially since everyone's grounded at home. Nobody needs to go anywhere right now. That is
Yeah,
totally
exactly.
so, it's like television, except you can talk to it and it talks back. Better than television. It's a new kind of remote control. It's a voice-activated remote control. And it passes the Turing test.
I'm looking forward to the day when people think it's weird that TVs didn't used to have cameras on them.
Well,
Right.
But here's the thing. I mean, collective superintelligence, as it exponentiates, right, that's when it really gets fun. I mean, right now, it's just like we're just a scattering of conversations out there that are public that anyone can join, right, like this one. And that are talking about saving life on Earth, that are basically manifesting the biological ancestors of what will be modern collective superintelligence. And where am I going with this? Help me out, collective intelligence. See, you guys are part of my brain now. I'm used to just saying, help me out. But oh yeah, so this is just very nascent, very preliminary. But once the thing takes off, and you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of conversations to choose from, we're just going to be like, it's like I dream of being in a conversation about convincing the governments of the world to support SRM. Jamin, your wish is my command. And suddenly I'm, working with, retired government folks, expert political scientists,
Yep.
historians, and we're having that conversation, right? Because you better believe I've got some hot sauce that I want to pour on that enchilada, right? And they'll probably be happy to hear it, right? And because I have experience working with, international leaders on big controversial stuff, they'll be fascinated to see my resume and my slide deck and say, whoa, right? You did what? And how did you pull that off in such a short period of time, right? See, this is collective superintelligence. Anyway, so once we get past that hurdle, I'm going to have my next biggest dream that I want to fulfill. And so it's going to be fulfilled dream after fulfilled dream after fulfilled dream. It's a dream fulfillment machine that we're creating for individuals and for Mother Earth, ultimately, to fulfill the dream of staying alive, staying alive. Every species thriving, and the humans, they are driving, and they're staying alive, staying alive. Anyway, so that's it. I mean, it's just going to be the funnest place to hang out, fulfilling dream after dream after dream, individual dreams and collective dreams. And increasingly, there'll be collective dreams, which are bigger than individual dreams. This is humanity learning how to dream together, lucid dreaming, while ostensibly awake about transforming and saving and healing all of life on Earth that can possibly be saved at this point, which is a lot.
Love your vision, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I like your musical numbers.
Yeah, I love to sing. That's how Nolan met me. Nolan met me before I was singing in public, but he also saw me singing in public.
The second time he sang a Spanish love song for me in his Darth Vader costume while hundreds of students walked by and evaded us.
I hope that's recorded somewhere.
Oh yeah, you can go up on YouTube, and there's a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I wanted to comment about your our collective imagining. I like that idea.
Yeah, Michael.
For a long time, I've really thought that we need to go deeper into our unconscious beliefs and surface them, because that's what limits our imagination. So when you can bring those to the surface and start to see what hidden beliefs you have that are limiting your, the possibilities, then you can start to think beyond it. And I think it's a way to like start thinking into a different paradigm. But you gotta illuminate the boundaries, and boundaries, in my opinion, have to do with the beliefs that we've been conditioned with, that we carry around, that we don't even have. So I just want to throw that out there and relate it to what you're saying, and certainly a way to do it is for us to have a collective conversation, and learn from each other, and become open, right? And become willing to go deeper and surface that stuff and say, aha, that's a belief that's keeping me from thinking outside the box, or whatever allegory you want to use.
Yeah, beautiful. And also the fact that we can, do it together. So as one of us is surfacing what we have, the others in the conversation can help with that. I don't know if you saw earlier when Dharmendra was presenting, Michael, or was that before you jumped on? That might have been before you jumped on.
Yeah, that was before.
Okay. Anyway, he led us through a whole exercise going from shadow to gift to siddha, and he works a lot with Gene Keys, as do other folks in the community. And so anyway, we've done some of that kind of work of, you know, uncovering the shadow and just getting it out in the open so we can work on it, and then realize the gift that that shadow is pointing towards, right? And then the siddha, which I'll let Dharmendra explain. But anyway, it's recorded, so you could actually watch the recording of this that I'll post onto my YouTube channel. I think that was on the first half of the recording. This is going to be in 2 parts because we truncate it every 4 hours, basically, roughly, or less even, as we slice it up. So that'll be on part 1 of this 2-part series. But yeah, totally. And so this is for personal transformation, collective transformation, and planetary transformation. All the above. All the way up and down the stack, so to speak.
But there are parallels among all 3 of those things. The process has got a lot of similarities, whether it's personal transformation, personal bottoms, and collective bottoms, you know, cultural bottoms.
Totally. And the way that, you know, a lot of planetary ailments and our own and ailments within our own species come from this collective shadow, right? That we're manifesting through war, through disease, through addiction, through all kinds of stuff, through violence. And so there, and we've got a lot of a number of followers of Carl Jung in the community who've gone deep on this stuff. Others, followers of Rudolf Steiner, Michael Mead, Carolyn Mace. Anyway, lots of folks who've. Anyway, it's.
Yeah, and then what I think what you're pointing out is that a lot of the systems that are in control are built upon those false beliefs and those shadow issues and ideas about the economy and what motivates people, and they're very limited and based on these deeply held beliefs. I like to say that I think there's there are 2 kinds of people in the world: those that believe human consciousness can evolve, and those that don't. And I'll leave it at that. It's maybe a simple way of looking at it.
That's super cool. That's super cool. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, and obviously this group falls into the former category.
Very much so.
One of the things, do you guys ever like go around and just talk about like where everybody's at, like physically? I find that interesting, and it feels like it might generate more of a connection. Like I'm really guessing like where you are, where Nolan is, and the other folks on the call, and and I've only popped in very briefly from time to time, so there's more investment on my part that I can be making.
Sure. Well, I'm up in Whidbey Island, Washington, north of Seattle, and so is Nolan. And Emery's in Montreal, Canada. Cesare is in a super cool city in Poland that I'll let him pronounce. And Dylan is up in Maine, way up in the Northeast. And you, Michael, are where?
I'm in Connecticut.
Oh, cool. What part?
I'm in a town called Deep River, which is getting down towards the shoreline. It's right on the Connecticut River.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the
Cool.
Connecticut River is a main symbol of this area. Yeah.
Nice.
There's a guy who teaches eco psychology, or has developed a program in eco psychology out in your neck of the woods, and maybe on Whidbey Island or some nearby. I can't quite think of his name now. He's kind of
Michael Gaio you're thinking of?
No, is Michael Geihill's on these calls periodically, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So it's not Michael. Maybe I can find his name and I can interject it later. I was interested in his educational curriculum, but he's a very creative thinker, and he talks about things like threads that connect us all, that connect us with all of life on the planet, and his means of educating is helping people become more aware of the way we're all connected with not only each other, with other humans, but with all species. Yeah, I'll see if I can find it, and I'll post it in the chat when I do.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Michael. Yeah. And, just our ability to go from in and out of different perspectives and then combining perspectives. I mean, it's just, I love every facet of collective superintelligence, and I just want the world to fall in love with collective superintelligence. My goodness, the places will go. Emery has his hand raised. Go ahead, Emery.
Yeah, just to answer Michael. Hi, Michael. Nice to meet you. Yeah, it's just a little bit about myself right now. I'm in Montreal, yeah, and I'll be 65 in May. I have few health issues right now since about a year and a half. I've had some heart issues, so I've been in and out of the hospital. So, it's been pretty rough. I'm on a limited, liquid intake, and taking a fair bit of medication, which I, never took medication very much in my life, and always stayed away from medications. So, having to take them every day, it's been challenging for me. And now the concerns of this virus and having to take precautions and whatnot, it's fairly stressful for me. But I'm managing. I'm not alone. I have a couple of people that I'm staying with, so we're putting our forces together here collectively, helping one another, and making headway. I'm very concerned about the issues that we talk about here, and I try to promote the goals of our collective goals here, and in social media and whatnot, to try to get more people involved and enlightened to what's happening and what our perspective is on it. So I'm doing the best I can with regard to that on a number of platforms that I've subscribed to and have my footprint established. So I don't know how much success I'm getting, but I'm not measuring right now. I'm just doing. So that's about it.
I think measuring is overrated.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
I learned in the Occupy movement that we had a local group, and it was a bunch of very successful white people down in the shoreline, and they formed an Occupy group, and nobody could get along. And I just learned that the best I could do was just to speak my ideas and my mind into the group, and then relax and not be attached to those ideas. and be willing to observe, and with gratitude actually, that when I did interject things, it had an influence. It might not have been what I expected it to be, but there was always an influence, and you could be grateful for that. We're so trained, we're so conditioned to want to prevail, and that's not collective effort. That's not, collaboration. I want to thank you, Emery, though, for what you just said. I'm 60 and a half, and I've left. My mortality has been driven home to me recently. I had to go to the doctor. I never went to the doctor. I never took medicine, and now I have to. And there are some things that have come up, and I am amazed that I have to take like 3 little teeny pills. I was so resistant to this. So, and I will say that I've got a semblance of insurance because of Obamacare and because the state of Connecticut set up an exchange. But it's, how much easier could it be than, at least for me, to take 3 little pills? It's not, I don't overthink it is what I need to do. And, take the damn little pills and you get better. And I'm not like at death's door anymore, So I'm grateful for having, and I've come across a caregiver who is this young woman who's just like, her competence is like overwhelmingly inspiring. She's good at what she does. She's organized and methodical and smart. And I got all these opinions about, what I believe and what I don't believe about my health and how to manage it. And, she gives me a little latitude, but then basically says, but you need to do this, And anyway, I've been struggling with the health stuff a little bit. I think I'm on the downhill side of it now. And I just wanted to thank you for sharing your experience as well, because I can relate. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you also. It's, it's good to be able to share these things that are that's happening in our personal lives. It makes our connections to one another that much stronger, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's another big benefit of the long format, right? We can hang out, right? And we'll talk business when we need to talk business, and we'll, hang out when we need to hang out and share. It's also multidimensional anyway, right? We might as well embrace the multidimensionality and leverage it, right? And it's like in Lord of the Rings, when they were looking for the keyhole on the side of the mountain, the light had to be shining from a particular angle in order to eliminate it, right? And so at any given moment, we're grappling with one problem or other, a facet of a problem or something that we're trying to achieve. And as different people within the group look at it from different angles, boop, hey, I got a lock on it. Here's what we need to do. Click. And just like a combination lock, now on to the next, tumbler, right? Perspective. This having thank you. Having multiple perspectives is a huge part of collective superintelligence. Another part is memory. Yeah.
I'm also grateful for the conversation that you're putting together here and leading. I've thought about these things for a long time, and so this is a new era and a new effort. And the urgency's only gotten deeper and deeper. I was involved with the Earth Charter, 10, 15 years ago. I have a degree in renewable energy, which I got in 1984. I was inspired by Jimmy Carter, believe it or not. And then there was a whole era of my life that, without unconsciously drawn into the striving of the culture. you know, the house with the white picket fence kind of thing, and that kind of future. And it was a midlife crisis that really woke me up to how unsatisfying that striving is. And yeah, ironically, I finished an MBA and when I was 45 years old, and I decided to quit my corporate job and go into sustainability consulting, whatever that means. And of course, if you really delve into the issue of why we're unsustainable, you realize that our economic system is killing the planet, and yet here you are trying to be successful inside of a system that's highly destructive. And for me, that was something that I really needed to grapple with. And it was an internal conflict. It was a soulful conflict that, you know, I believe was there and present for a long time and needed to be surfaced. So I think that's what this conversation is doing, is helping us all unwind some of that investment we've had in things that, you know, our souls don't believe in. So keep at it. And I do, you know, the exponential function is real and operational, and it's going to be real and operational with regard to super collective human intelligence as well. So, or is it collective superhuman intelligence? Maybe I should work on that.
Collective superintelligence. 2 words. Collective superintelligence.
Okay, I'll work on that. I want to be a good ambassador for the.
I so appreciate you, Michael. Thank you so much. We need ambassadors of all types, and I really want to second what you were just saying about, you know, the words that come to mind are collective, you know, therapy for not just ourselves as individuals, but for our species-wide group therapy, right? And it's so true. I mean, because while we're setting about healing the planet, we're also healing ourselves. And, you know, there's healing at the level of self, at the level of species, at the level of ecosystem, and at the level of planet, right? And we're taking on all of those at once, right? Under very challenging circumstances. And the one thing that gives me hope, and it gives me tremendous hope, is precisely the exponential of collective superintelligence. And in fact, have you seen my slides on that, Michael?
I don't think I see. I will comment that, yeah, well, the thing that's going to destroy us, you're putting it to good use, and maybe it'll save us as well.
Yeah, exactly. Here, let me show you the famous exponential slides.
Yeah, and by the way, so I've made a new friend recently. I work in Middletown, Connecticut, and Brian Stewart is a professor of physics there, and he invited me to a class that he's created called Radical Sustainability, and he just wrote an article about the coronavirus, and basically he was explaining the exponential function in the article. That was his main thrust. So it applies to many, many things. And I think I mentioned this last time I was on, I just wrote it in the chat, but when he invited me to the class, I was up all night making sure I was prepared, and that's when I discovered radish.org. So I got to talk to, you know, and I have another friend who's a philosophy professor, and he explained to me how he's struggling with bringing the truth of a climate disaster to his students, because he has to break this news to them that they haven't heard before, and it's dire. And I brought the same sort of dire. I know I tried to tell the story of global dimming, and at that point the coronavirus was just emerging, and you know, the fact that global dimming was going to be reduced and it was going to have an impact, and not to mention the expected El Nino. But I was able to offer radish.org and what you're doing as a counterpoint to that dire news. And I don't know if anybody took me up on it, but you know, I said to the professor, if just 1 or 2 of your students go to this site, it'll be a beautiful thing. And so I really am being an ambassador, and that's the way I see this, as that we need that counterpoint to we need to go deeply into how dire the situation is in order to understand what's limiting our imagination and get past that so that we can implement.
Michael, you are being such a brilliant and clear thinking and clear speaking ambassador, even right now as we're speaking and recording. It's just very, very clear, super clear. And of course, you know, the more we hear about it from more perspectives, like the seven blind folks, each touching different parts of the elephant and swearing, you know, hey folks, what we have in front of us here is this. I swear to you, I've got my hand deep into it, and that's what it is, right? Emery's got his hand up. Go ahead, Emery.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, Michael, can you have his name again? Can you put that in the chat? I wouldn't mind just checking him out, you know. Sounded like was quite a few interesting things there that I would be interested in to listen to if he's got anything going.
Yeah, you mean the physics professor I was just mentioning? Yeah, absolutely.
Can you put that in the chat so I can look into that? Thanks.
You know, I just want to comment on something. It used to be in our world, I've been at this, believe it or not, I've been at this since, you know, full time basically since early 2014. So I've been at this full time for 6 years, right? Knowing, you know, anyway, starting off with a certain knowledge base and then just going and saying, you know, constantly asking, what do we need to do to solve all these problems holistically? It used to be that we would, you know, meet an amazing supporter and contributor once every couple months or so. And now it's happening, you know, multiple times per week. Bless you. I mean, today, Michael, boom, now you're talking and sharing and, you know, you've joined. Welcome home. Denise, boom, for her first time today. So that's two giant, excuse me, two giant acquisitions in one day, right? And so this is the exponential at work, right? Amazing, wonderful folks are joining the community and saying, I want to be a part of this. This is really important, right?
Joining too, because everything's collapsing. Like I've been getting emails all day. About
Can you say it a little closer
yeah.
into the mic? Go ahead, say exactly what you're saying. Go ahead. This is my partner, Melissa. Go ahead,
this
sweetheart.
crazy partner. I'm saying, yeah, they're joining because everything is collapsing right now. I've been getting emails all day, people in tears whose businesses are closing, young people, artists, young entrepreneurs. And yeah, it seems like, you know, this is forcing us all to come together to find solutions and build this new world together. Like, how are we going to live on this planet now?
Yeah.
Not like we have been.
Yeah, and we can't go back.
No,
nope. I think
we crossed that bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also worked with the Pachamama Alliance for a while, and one of the things we used to teach was this concept of hospicing out these old systems that are dying and need to die away, and at the same time being midwives and shepherding in what can be. And
yeah.
that's what we need to do here is we need to keep speaking it, you know, what can be and what our vision of what the world can be. And one of the articles I talk about in that class was it spoke about this idea of holding the two possibilities together, that things could either collapse and be terrible, or things could pass away and we could be reborn into the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. And you know, but we need to hold both of those possibilities at the same time, and that's the evolution of our consciousness. Actually, it's the ability to do that,
and to straddle the unknown, because it's a journey, right? It's unknown. It always has been. We just got distracted. And
I think that unknown is getting right now. It's coming to a head in a way. That's the critical element in where we're at today, and you know, given the situation, and that's what's making people so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think my personal blessing is that I'm an artist, so I'm often delve into the unknown. Like every time you create something, whether you're a writer, a musician, composer, choreographer, you go into the unknown, and you take disparate elements and you bring them together out of chaos into some sort of divine order. And my epiphany today through my working is ironically or paradoxically, through the crisis, my work has just leapt up, because it's like there's no tomorrow. So what are you going to do today? And so this work has become a prayer. I looked at it today and went, wow, I'm creating prayers for Mother Earth. It's just all love now, and there's no limitations, no boundaries of limitation. You know how you can limit yourselves, like when we're trying to fit into the mold. Well, all our molds are being cracked open, right? We're being cracked open to let the radiance out.
I love that phrase, divine order. You know, when chaos can go, something that's got order instead of going the other way. You know, they teach entropy in school, right? But they don't teach about it when it goes the other way. And you know, in my opinion, that's God. Divine order is absolutely whatever the impetus is that allows randomness become organized. You know, that's to me, that's God, for what that's worth.
Beautiful.
The crows just acknowledged what you said, Michael, and that's significant. Really.
Well, now to the kitchen.
Okay. Thank you, sweetheart.
Nice to meet you. See you again. Love you, Noan. See you later, honey.
Thank you, love. See you in a bit.
Bye.
Yeah.
That's another thing that we have in the house is the divine feminine. And in fact, we're confirmed for this next block party from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time, noon to 2 Eastern. We're going to have the divine feminine, led by Melissa and Jackie and Myra, both of whom were on earlier. So this is so amazing, everyone, because we're creating a cluster and other clusters are forming, right? And because let's just talk about the equivalence class of all these clusters with the following fundamental characteristics. Ready? Real simple. Anyone can join, totally open, come as you are, no dogma, no, nothing other than the golden rule fundamentally, and, be polite and, let others speak and play by the rules. I mean, that's it, right? This is a medium. It's a social network of actual conversations about things that really matter, like saving life on Earth. And exactly how we're going to do that using collective superintelligence, which in itself has so many different facets. So everything we're doing here constitutes this giant hyper object with so many different facets and major sectors, collective superintelligence being a major sector, whole world being a major sector, and so on. And weaving it all together into one integrated collective superintelligence and myriad solutions that will be born, designed, and implemented out of it, which you could think of as extensions of the collective superintelligence, because whatever systems are built will always need to be updated and controlled and orchestrated and implemented and whatnot. And they'll just be infused with collective superintelligence. Essentially, collective superintelligence is going to engulf and envelop every facet of life on Earth as it needs to, in order for us to understand it and help protect it. If we're going to be a caretaker species, we need to know that of which we're taking care of. And we need to, master our domain of being caretakers. Anyway, I could go on and on, but I want to let other people share. I'm going to go on mute.
I like the idea of connected superintelligence.
Connecting the different clusters. Yeah, that's where I was about to go. Back to you, Emery.
It's a collective superintelligence. We're collecting, but then we got to connect the intelligences. So, we're kind of working on that, right?
Well, that's what's so exciting, because really two things are happening now. One is that individuals are discovering us as individuals and, joining the conversation. Another exciting thing that's happening is that, whole groups are starting to connect with us. And, at the level of group. That's been less common, but I think it's going to be more and more common, because just like we are, a community, our community, you could just think of it as a cluster of individuals and increasingly groups. Like, for example, there's a lot of folks from Vegan World 2026 who are part of the collective superintelligence. And a number of us are active in Vegan World 2026. In fact, that's a great example. So these are lily pads that are connecting, right? One is not engulfing and, taking over another. They're just connecting. And we're having these beautiful flows across lily pads and conversations within the lily pads. And each lily pad is growing. Any lily pad in this space, it's one of the few growth sectors in the economy right now. It's basically, think tanks / communities that are developing and leveraging collective intelligence for saving life on Earth, right? Or, solving our problems, however you want to put it. Right?
Exactly. But, even if some people don't find their way here to this particular moment in time, many will be inspired to have their get-togethers, in other groups and in other moments in time. It doesn't have to be our right here, right now. It could be, just a seed we're planting into people to be involved, to generate some positive action, some momentum to gather, intelligent minds to get together and take action on many important issues that face life on Earth.
Beautiful.
The guy I was trying to think of is in Friday Harbor. Is that near you?
What's the name of the town again?
Friday Harbor.
Oh yeah. Friday Harbor. That's on an island north of us. Friday Harbor is the biggest town in the San Juan Islands, and we're
Okay.
on Whidbey Island, which is just to the south. But I know the San Juan Islands very well, and in fact, I've kayaked all around those islands. So I'd love to connect with him, and thank you for connecting us.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. I'll let you tell me what you think. Once if you spend some time exploring his program and his website and the whole organization.
Beautiful, beautiful. Would love to. Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, and we'll invite him to participate in our meeting.
Yeah, and I think it relates back to something you were starting to explore just a couple of minutes ago about, being, I think you said something about, in order to be good stewards, we need to know what it is we're taking care of. And I think there's a kind of a counter to that perspective, which is learning to be part of the web, and this idea of stewardship maybe is a little overwrought, although we have the capacity, and I think we can go deeper into that conversation. But I think his program came to my mind because I was thinking about, and who was the Catholic priest, Thomas?
A contemporary or from way back? Michael, you froze up. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully Michael will. Yeah, okay, Michael, now you're back. You had frozen up for about the last half minute or so. And the last thing, the last thing we heard you say was Catholic priest.
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to think of his last name. I do have a slightly unstable internet connection here periodically. I've been noticing, but well, again, I'm having trouble pulling up his name. But he said we need to change the human relationship from one of destructive to one of mutually enhancing. And I think there's room for a conversation about the difference between considering ourselves as stewards versus another web in the web of life on the planet.
Totally. Yeah, no, I think both perspectives are actually valid. And, there's a synthesis between those two perspectives that I think is beckoning. And I think we can create that with collective superintelligence. Bring in everything from biologists to theologians to philosophers, to philosophers of biology. That's a field. In fact, there are these experts on unlocking the mystery of life. And you got a number of philosophers of biology talking. Anyway, all these different disciplines, but also just people who don't necessarily have a degree in this or that. This gets back to your earlier point, Michael, about measuring is not what it's cracked up to be. Measuring people by their degrees or their, resume or whatever, right? The books I read at night don't show up on my resume, right? What I write about, my most powerful, most precious, thoughts, and none of that's on my resume, right? What we think about, what we spend our lives thinking about and mastering. So anyway, you get my point. So just the relevant people, that's all I'll say. Once we get the right combinations of people, and that this really gets deep into the heart of the platform for collective superintelligence, because the platform and the community, ideally, and I think we'll totally hit the site ideal. We'll hit it outside the park, but ideally, both the platform and the community work together to orchestrate the right combinations of people. Notice I didn't say the right combinations of experts, but the right combinations of people, right? Regardless of what walks of life or how old or where they're from or who they are or anything like that. But the right combinations of people to, address the right tumblers of every combination lock problem, using a combination lock as a metaphor for a problem that has multiple sub problems to be solved within it, right? So perhaps the big, to articulate it in simple terms, the big job of collective superintelligence is that for every single urgent problem or sub-problem thereof, that collective superintelligence immediately assemble the right people to solve that sub-problem, so that the baton can then get passed to the next sub-problem, or even better still, work on myriad sub-problems in parallel. And then the combination lock goes click, 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 right? Rather than one at a time, right? All the tumblers can go at once, as far as I'm concerned. And we may be actually being in such a MacGyver moment, if you'll pardon the reference, where there are seconds left before the detonator will set off the bomb, and we need to decipher this ticking time bomb really, really fast. Well, collective superintelligence is designed to do just that. So like the football team that was down 100-0, 5 minutes before the end of the game, and in those 5 minutes racks up 117 points. That's what this is going to be like. It's at the very end of the game, what looks like the very end, we're going to snatch life out of the jaws of death. That's how I think this is going to go down. I mean, it's how it appears to be going down now. And I say that because we've got, coronavirus, economic collapse, exponential planetary overheating, loss of global dimming, 6 mass extinction, acidifying oceans, melting ice, forest fires everywhere. I mean, it's quite an intense laundry list. And to think that each and every one of those, without exception, is part of a self-reinforcing feedback loop driving planetary overheating. At last count, 67 self-reinforcing feedback loops driving planetary overheating. Oh yeah, and then Emory throws in 5G. The list goes on and on and on, and the beat don't stop until the break of dawn. So we need to MAS, TER, we need to master so many different domains as a collective superintelligence and line up all the tumblers and then kaboosh at the last minute, because the last minute could be right around the corner. So we really don't have a whole lot of time to, scratch our heads and say, well, I don't know, collective superintelligence, it sounds interesting like a concept, but, I see some theoretical and potential philosophical issues with it, so I'm just going to wait and see. We don't have time for that, Einstein, right? We don't have time to dilly-dally. Like I've said many times, if anyone has a better solution than collective superintelligence, or a better meta solution, I should say, in the sense that it will birth myriad solutions. It'll be the birth canal of a whole bunch of solutions. Maybe that's what we should call it, to give it a sexy name: the birth canal of mega solutions. Anyway, if anyone has a better meta solution, or a better, even a set of solutions that's already baked, what you got? Nolan, what you got, man? What you got? If you got a better solution, tell us. Otherwise, join us. Either tell us or join us. But we cannot afford fence sitting at this point.
Solutions of mass construction.
Solutions of mass construction. I like it.
Yeah, what does indigenous wisdom and, you know, the wisdom of all the other species on the planet tell us too in that regard? So I don't know how to synthesize that, but I think it's a fair question.
Well, you know, it's funny you should say that. I mentioned earlier that we feed the crows here, and we don't just feed them; we talk with them. Like I will literally talk with them, just like I'm talking with you gentlemen right now, and whoever's listening. Because crows manifest tremendous collective intelligence as a species, right? They're just phenomenal. I mean, in ways that we can't even comprehend. And so I just speak to them as a group, and they all perch around the branches, you know, waiting for their meal kind of thing. And I just give them their daily sermon, right? And I invite them to participate in these meetings. I literally invite them to participate in their own way. So they may be, and at different times in the day, they're sitting on the branches or on the lawn, and they're, you know, doing their thing. So anyway, I'm all about that, Michael. Cesare, welcome back. Yeah, so anyway, back to the exponential. This whole thing is taking off exponentially, but it's just that it's been on this. There's three parts of an exponential function: flat line, knee, and vertical, right? To exaggerate it a bit, right? And for years, we were on the flat line part of the exponential. Now we're in, you know, I'd say maybe the first third of the knee or something like that. We're somewhere, you know, we're a little ways into the knee, right? And the good news is that we ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, just another third of the way into the knee, and it's going to be kind of night and day relative to how we've been growing recently, which has been amazing, right? I mean, 2 of the 5 people on this conversation right now made their real debut with us in the last 4 days. That's really significant because the folks who are on the Solution Club 7.5 hours into the Solution Club are almost by definition a special group, right? So anyway, it's just the amazing folks who've been joining lately are just that. They're just amazing. And you know, that trend is going to continue. Why? Because there are so many darn people on the planet, right? Let's say that 1 out of 1,000 human beings is just mind-bogglingly amazing, and you're just so grateful to have met that person, and wow, okay, 1 out of 1,000. That's 8 million people. That's 8 million mind-bogglingly amazing people. 8 million. There are 8 million of us out there. And guess what? We don't just accept people who are mind-bogglingly amazing. Even people who are just darn good, right? Join us. And now our pool has expanded from 8 million to like 850 million, right? So we've got the deep bench. We just need to get to them in the right way, right? And invite them to be a part of the collective superintelligence. It's not a heck of a lot more complicated than that. man, I feel so much more excited and so much more optimistic than I did at the beginning of this meeting.
The pressure is building, Jamin.
The pressure is definitely building. I mean, that pressure is making collective superintelligence a hot growth industry. Collective superintelligence is going from cottage industry to planetary mega industry in a matter of weeks.
It's gonna overtake Tesla.
Oh, goodness. I mean, Elon Musk is going to join, and he's going to bring his smartest friends.
Imagine.
And, you know, and look, even if they just, you know, even if there's like an Elon Musk show where he just invites whoever the heck he wants, I mean, the thing is that that's kind of a different species than collective superintelligence. And it's kind of an interesting gray area that's both very important, right?
Should have an hour.
Pardon me?
Have an hour at the block party. Elon Musk hour.
I'd love that. Absolutely. But here's what I'm talking about. The shades of gray area that I'm talking about is goes like this. You know, Joe Rogan invites, you know, very selected people to his program. So you don't get to see everyone on his program, only selected people. And it's basically a 2-to-many, not 1-to-many, but 2-to-many broadcast. Joe Rogan and his guest, or if he has a couple of guests, it's 3-to-many. But it's basically the 1-to-many model. You get what I'm saying? And and because of that, it's somewhat separate from, you know, this many-to-many model of collective superintelligence, right? And here's kind of where I'm going with that, right? Obviously, you know, if everybody knew that Elon Musk was in a given conversation, you know, a buttload of people would join. And so maybe part of the culture and the rules of collective superintelligence is that if a famous person like Elon Musk or Bill Gates or whoever jumps into a meeting, that you don't tweet that and include the link to the meeting, right? You don't put it on Facebook and you don't email it to your friends, right? You just let Elon join and be like any other participant. Why the hell not, right? And so for me, that's kind of one solution of many, I'm sure, that we'll come up with that will help tease down, you know, the Elon Musks and the Joe Rogans and, you know, the Daniel Schmachtenbergers and, you know, everyone else from their, you know, privileged ivory towers from whence they broadcast 1-to-many to come and, you know, mix it up with us town people, right?
So we keep it on the down low, right?
Well, yeah, and the rules are that we keep it on the down low. I mean, you know, look, if it's a recorded or even broadcast, if it's a broadcast conversation and people are watching, they're kind of toast, right? Because we're broadcasting to the public, not just to the community. But not every conversation has to be broadcast. It can be recorded and then published upon the end of the meeting, you know, like this one. It's not broadcast, but it is recorded. And so, you know, take that scenario. Elon Musk pops in. There's a meeting with 7 other people. He jumps in and, you know, because it's a problem that he's passionate about, right? And, you know, and being Elon Musk, you know, odds are he'll probably move the needle during that meeting, and they may even solve the problem that they're working on, right? And no one else needed to know that those 8 people were meeting, including Elon Musk, right? So we basically make paparazziism illegal within collective super. We make it against the rules, basically. Speaking of paparazzi, I've got another 30 minutes, and then I've got to get on to my personal life. Anyway, 30 minutes is a long time. We can cover a lot of ground. But 30 minutes from now, it'll have been 8 hours since we started. And Nolan, look at how far we've come. Because we've had Solution Club meetings going back months ago, when it would be the usual suspects, and but now it's just getting totally mixed up in a beautiful way with all these new folks. And yeah, we get a lot of old timers coming by, and people who've been with us for a long time, but it's really getting mixed up in a delicious way. So we're starting to experience what most conversations are going to experience within the collective superintelligence, which is a regular churning and mixing it up. And because of that, and because of what I talked about earlier, that it's so that the job, a really important job of collective superintelligence, is bringing together the right combinations of people to solve the right problems right now. And if they can't solve it right now, well, who do you need? Query the humans, but also look at the patterns in the data from analysis of the entire corpus of previous conversations, including conversations which led to solutions versus dead-end conversations that didn't, right? So repeat the patterns of the successful conversations and minimize the patterning of the unsuccessful ones. And that's what AI does best anyway. That's what it's famous for, is all this pattern recognition and pattern-related optimization, right? So we've kind of got a match made in heaven here between our urgent need to have a capability to assemble the right combinations of people, right? Of which it's probably never unique, right? It's just like, it'll sound like the beginning of a bad joke, but it's like we need a biologist, an economist, a zoologist, and an epidemiologist. Bring me those 4 people to work on this problem, because the patterns of previous problem solving within that class of problems indicates that for this particular problem, parameterized and tagged in whatever way it's parameterized and tagged, correlates to this kind of combination of people. Bring those people together, have them solve the problem. Oh, they can't solve it? All right, well, what do you need? Ask the people in the conversation and tell the AI to go back to the drawing board and cast a wider net. Who else can we bring in? Right? And we
Name
keep
those people again.
Beg your pardon?
Name those people again.
Well, I just mentioned, for example, a biologist, a zoologist, an economist, and an epidemiologist. And it's the job of the collective superintelligence to go round them up. But you see, everyone in this world, everyone is going to fast become a volunteer firefighter within the realm of collective superintelligence. And so whoever we need, they're already at home within 20 feet of their computer, right? Or within 6 inches of their computer if it's their phone, right, that they work on. So it's like everyone's at the ready, and 24/7, because you got 24 time zones in the world, right? It's always 5 o'clock somewhere. So there's always people available everywhere, right? I mean, all the time, of whatever, combination of attributes the AI is sniffing for or signaling for, right? And again, people will be able to specify in their preferences, look, if it meets these criteria, notify me. If it meets these criteria, literally wake me up. Even if I'm sleeping, wake me up. You know, if it's a code 5 emergency problem, right? That, you know, only, you know, people of these characteristics can solve, right? And they've pinged all the people who are awake, and they're either not available or whatever. And so now it's time to start going to tier 2, wake people up. This is the kind of problem I want to be woken up for. These other problems over here, please don't wake me up, but put it at the top of my inbox so that when I wake up, I see them. And I might, you know, jump to this or that, you know, but I happen to value my sleep for many reasons, not the least of which is I need a strong immune system. I'm over 50, right? But there are certain things I want to be woken up for, right? My mom. Huh?
I've got a good little video of Clinton sort of getting woken up with electroshock therapy. Can you picture that?
I certainly can.
Being woken up. I mean, you have to have electrodes shocking you to wake up, right? Hillary.
Well, I mean, it could just be through sound, right? Like,
that'll do for me.
Like, for example, my mom can call me anytime and my phone will ring loud if she calls, even if it's in the middle of the night.
You know, in my age these days, I always wake up at that early hour. What happens when you get old? You've woken up so many times, I guess. You know the right time. I don't need a clock, seems. And plus, lately, been up all the time, 24 hours. Almost. I didn't quite make it last time, but you know, we gotta watch that burnout factor, you know, Jamin.
Well, totally, and that's why I generally do just 2 long format video conferences per week, which add up to about 32 hours of which is, for me, that's plenty. But thanks to Cesare, who's on this call, we tacked on another 6 hours yesterday and another hour on the phone the day before, approximately, maybe a little less, but about an hour. And then another video conference on Saturday went for an hour. So I'm breaking over 40 hours of meetings this week. And that's a lot of meeting, most of which I'm in one way or another leading, right? And moderating, which takes even more energy. But, you know, like, for example, you know, the last couple hours or so that we've just been hanging out, it hasn't been such a big, heavy moderating function. It's like we're all over in Emery's living room or something, you know, drinking Canadian beer and just, you know, pushing around the bullshit, right? But focused on very important topics, right? But it's very comfortable. That's what I'm saying. It's not like.
So wait until Omni Intelligence comes online.
Well, see, here's the fascinating thing. It's like the biggest phase transformation in the history of humanity is about to happen. And it's going to happen so fast. Once we get through the knee, right? And it's going to take not very long to get through the rest of the knee, right? Once we get through the knee and we hit the vertical portion, it's going to be like a lightning fast phase transformation. that the world is, you know how like the world just suddenly woke up to the fact that there is a coronavirus, and within a couple of weeks, everyone was locked in their homes. Everyone's going to wake up to the fact that there's a collective superintelligence, and within a couple of weeks, all the problems are going to be solved. And people are going to say, what happened? You see, we are very privileged because we get to be there, very conscious and cognizant of every stage of the transformation. As I've made the analogy previously, we get to be on the tip of the rocket, the very tip, the very, control room of the Starship Enterprise as we make the jump to light speed. Other people will just be like, what happened? What the? Right? Oh, I guess I better join that. They say it's like the new Facebook, but even more important than Facebook. Okay. Log in, boop. Oh, really? They have conversations about that? It'll be the Neanderthals, running to the trough and it'll be great. I'm talking shit, but really what I'm saying is, this is a totally unique experience that we're experiencing, and you only get to experience it once. And in fact, the window to experience it is closing as the exponential grows. Once the phase shift happens, it's done, right? It's done. That cigarette got smoked, and there ain't nothing. There's a butt that you can mess around with, and yeah, there's documentaries of what happened in the past about it, right? But it happened, and either you were watching or you didn't, right? So we're just super privileged to be on this ride at this time, right? And get ready for some serious G's, because this rocket ship is going places.
Let's fasten those seatbelts.
Heck yeah.
Well, then.
There's something strangely inspiring about what you just said. I'm not sure that I want to be on the tip of the rocket, but maybe we don't have a choice. But it's a great analogy you're offering, and I feel it. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Phase change.
Yeah, because you see, if you infuse any species with this kind of intelligence, this level of intelligence that's growing exponentially, right? And the exponential growth has no reason to stop. Why on earth would it ever stop? Here, let me just screen share these images I wanted to show just really fast. So these images depict the coevolution of two things: the platform for collective superintelligence and the actual collective intelligence, which grows on top of the platform. More people join, the collective intelligence grows and grows and grows. And it doesn't stop growing, but at some point its growth is constrained by whatever limitations the platform has, like a potted plant that grew too big for its britches. But you see, even before this point, the collective intelligence can set about designing and building the next generation of the platform, which will be able to support a much greater collective intelligence, which will then be out there in the world solving all kinds of problems, and in its spare time designing and building the next generation platform, which will support a much greater collective intelligence. And because most of the work in the realm of the platform is software, right? Software, rules, culture, it's soft stuff, right? It's not like we need to build the Bosporus Bridge in Istanbul in order to, have the next incremental leap. No, there's barely anything physical about it. It's really soft stuff. And so just like what I was talking about earlier, about one of the biggest jobs of that collective superintelligence is rounding up the people who are needed for any given conversation in order to solve the problem or fulfill the goal or the objective of that conversation. Every conversation should have an objective, or perhaps multiple, right? Other than conversations like these where objectives get surfaced, and I mean, this is really like a whole, anyway, this is a special conversation. It's kind of in a different class, right? This is head of the rocket ship conversations, right? But, you know, the vast majority, I'm hypothesizing that the majority of the conversations when we cross the 1 million conversation mark are going to be about very specific things that need to get figured out, right? I guess it depends on, you know, where we're at in the crisis. I mean, since we're deep in a planetary predicament right now, it really should be all hands on deck, right? No one should be watching, you know, reruns of I Love Lucy right now. We need to be we need to be at the ready. And whenever we get called upon for whatever our highest purpose is in this moment, right? We're all volunteer firefighters at this point. Whatever we get called into, we go there, we put out that fire, and then we stand at the ready waiting for the next call. Now, if no calls are coming our way, fine, we go search out and explore and see where we can, you know, jump into that. Because however smart the AI is and other elements of the system that help suggest where I should go, I'm also pretty good at figuring out where I should go, right? So we'll use both some hybrid of my intelligence and intuition and the system, right? Which goes out looking for people with certain characteristics to fill missing people in specific conversations. Anyway, I've said enough about that. Going on mute.
Well, it's getting late by me. I think I'm going to be checking out now. Oh, my video is off.
Sorry. See, it's, what is it, like 3 in the morning over there? Almost?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, awesome, Cesare. Thank you for hanging in there, being with us so much of today and yesterday. Thank you. Super awesome.
Yeah, the chatter makes good background noise.
Yeah, no kidding.
Listen, I'd like to, I'm thinking about, because this fucking, I'm actually concerned that this Corona thing might not go away. I mean, maybe it's going to be for a few months, maybe a few weeks, maybe a few decades. So, I mean, with all the lives we're going to save, you know, from having less traffic accidents, why not just keep the quarantine forever, right? Makes perfect sense to me. Anyway, so I'm looking at shifting my activities to Zoom. And I was going to, and I was thinking of doing this in one of two ways. One is promoting, basically just promoting ILP meetings on Zoom. And just doing my own thing. But at the same time, what I'd really like to do is to combine what you're doing with what I'm doing, and to have like this kind of, you know, like really to me, this is like like what you're talking about is like a festival of ideas, you know, where you have kind of the whole general atmosphere, but then you have these little areas with these different things happening. You got different stages, you got different performers, you got, you know, not just musicians, but you got different places. You have just performers, jugglers, and just people doing stuff. And yeah, and so I think, because what I do is really intense, and I think it would really complement it really well to have the environment set by you that's more chill, more inviting. And so, yeah, I'd like to combine that. So, but I don't know. You mentioned that there are ways to do breakout rooms. I don't know if that's possible or how easy that is. It's something I'd like for us to discuss. Or otherwise, like I was saying, we can start putting a list of events together, and we can have this collective superintelligence block party, and then publish that as like a list, a roster, and then have that have different people performing different things at different times that are as a part of that overall environment, and then people can bounce between those rooms, that we really cross promote those. So yeah, if people are too intense, had enough of intense politics, they can just jump back into the mix of the general room where where people are just mingling and kind of getting the general tone and just chilling, kicking it, and maybe meeting new people, talking about their day, or actually talking about the whole concept, with you setting the tone, and that about this whole communication that's happening, and kind of guiding people to different rooms. When new people come in and someone says, oh, this is what I do, well, hey, we have these events happening at this time, and people doing that, not just you doing that, but other people then, as people playing those roles and allocating resources, So I don't know, that really depends on, I think, on the functions of Zoom. It's something that I'd like for us to discuss, because then at that point, what I'd like to do is to promote, because if I'm holding a conference to discuss really specific economic, social, political ideas within Agora, and it would probably be Agora Society, not International Logic Party, then that would be as part of it would be a subset of things that are going on within the block party, or however you'd want to label that. But then I could promote that, because I think that will it would help me to promote that overall general vibe of, like I said, this festival of ideas, the collective superintelligence festival of ideas. Then in that way, we could really harness the potential of all kinds of people who are then doing their workshops, essentially workshops. Then people are like, hey, come check out this event. There are all these different workshops that you can participate in. And then people are, then they come to the general room, and then they're more inclined to, hey, let me get a taste of all the different things that are happening. I tried this, and that was really intense. Now I'm tired. I want to relax over here. Then you want to listen to some female perspective, with the, I forgot what that session was called, with the
Divine Feminine, the Divine Feminine.
Divine Feminine. So if people want to get some of that, like a buffet, just, but I think
like a block party, right?
Yeah.
Some people are going to get the turntables, mixing and scratching music, and looking at old LPs and talking about their favorite whatever. Other people are going to be, at the barbecue cooking up some cool vegan food. Other people are going to be playing, hopscotch, whatever. Other people are going to be playing poker, right? Whatever. It's a block party.
But I think it's actually really important to have that one main room where everybody comes to, and
Definitely. It's a combined main stage and welcoming area, because that's a really important part of it, right? When you're stepping through the portal, the birth canal to the next dimension, right? You need someone to hold your hand, right?
I think that's that welcome room is where people get the concept of that collective superintelligence. It's that welcome room that's that gives people a sense like, hey, you know, maybe this room is not for you, but that room is for you. Or maybe you'll come to that room later. Maybe in a year you'll come to that, explore what's happening in this other room. But yeah, I think it's that welcome area that's critical. That actually sets the tone of the collective superintelligence.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Emery's got his hand raised, and guys, I need to bug out in 3 minutes because that's when I promised Melissa. And it'll have been 8 hours at that point. Okay, Emery, go for it.
Yeah, I was hoping just to share this little video I did before we close up for today.
And by the way, if you guys want to hang out, or if any of you want to,
that's possible.
Yeah, and yeah,
I wanted you to see it.
Okay. Do you want to share it, or you want to send me the link and I share it?
I wanted to share it.
Go for it.
So really,
now we can't hear that, Emery. You may not have done. You have to do share computer sound when you do the screen share, if there's noise that you want us to hear. So when you have to you have to go back. You have to end share and then share again. Hit share, and then when you hit share screen, there's a checkbox.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Share computer sound. Yeah, that's it. So really, first of all, actually, this is a really crucial point. We can go pretty darn far with the current platform, the Block Party. You know, plus email, plus the relatively light use of social media that we've done, mainly YouTube and some Facebook and whatnot. Although actually through our extended network, we're probably getting a lot more social media than we give ourselves credit for. But anyway, bottom line, our current platform with all the aforementioned, and sprinkling on, you know, some more Reddit, and getting systematic about that and whatnot. Our current Block Party, we can span all the tech companies that we want and all the topics that we want in a 24-hour period. And voila, we could even do the topics in the following sequence for each 12-hour half. Right? For us, half of a soccer game is 12 hours long. And then we play the other half. So in each half of the game, of the Block Party game, see, now we've gamified it. In each half of the game, we cover the full spectrum of topics, broken into 3 sections each: collective superintelligence, coronavirus and ending hunger, and cooling the planet. 1, 2, 3. We cover each every 12 hours. That way, no matter where you are in the world, and no matter what your topic, it gets covered once at 4:20 in the afternoon and once at 4:20 a.m. One of those times sucks and the other is perfect, right? I don't care where you are. I don't care what the topic, right? That's how we make this universally accessible and make it go fully international and just make it rock. We've got the platform for it. We cover all topics in the block party. We cover each topic twice. And we just plow through the topics. And then when people see the value in this and we have enough participants, we start expanding the block party into Operation Rolling Thunder. Every 24-hour period, another block party, until we have a whole chain of block parties for. Did I say blockchain? We're redefining the blockchain. A whole chain of block parties, 7 a week. And, you know, people sleep when they want to sleep and they jump in when they want to jump in. So really, all right, Emery, I think I speak for all of us in saying that was just brilliant. No, I'm just kidding. Now, was that a single? Was that like a single segment, or did you splice in different sentences into one?
That was one, but I didn't have the right one. I have a finished product, which is in another video, another file, which I couldn't find quickly enough. So, but there's another ending. There's a very good ending to that, which isn't. You didn't see it, so it doesn't matter. But
does the cat take a dump or something? Anyway, I'll tell you what, guys.
He jumps into a block party. You know.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, awesome. Well, I'll tell you what. On that delicious note, I am gonna bug out. I'm just gonna leave it running. So if you guys want to, I'll stop recording unless somebody.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done personally. I'm okay to call it a day.
All right, sounds like we're gonna call it a day. I guess 8 hours is enough for one solution.
Mike, you okay?
Yeah, Michael, great to see you. Michael, welcome home. Welcome home. So we'll see you on Friday at the block party for a full 24 hours and every Tuesday at the Solution Club. So between those two, you got 32 hours of fun right there, guaranteed every week. So,
Great.
Cesare, great to see you, Cesare. Nolan, Emery, Michael, Jamin, and everyone who's been on this Solution Club today. Thank you all. It has been absolutely amazing. And wow, I'm just blown away. Welcome to the knee, gentlemen. We're in the knee. We're in the knee now. So
the hockey stick.
We're in the knee. So keep your seatbelts tight, stay hydrated, and we're going for some serious G's. All right. Love you all. Thanks so much. And if I don't see you before, we'll see you Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern, and 2 p.m. in Poland. All right. Love you all. Great to see you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.